All right, there we go. We are live now. Welcome, my friends. I am Omar Krieg. This is the Krieg Dominion. I'm your Lord and Commander therein, and your host for tonight. This 7th episode of the 2nd season of Second Star, a Traveler 2300 role-playing experience entitled Atria, which I'm not sure if that's really a word. It sounds like it might be a word. I don't know. Whatever. I am the storyteller, game master, referee, whatever you want to call it. And with me, of course, are my players portraying their 3 characters. So let's check in with them, see what's new and exciting for them. And of course, while they were doing that, I'm going to screw around on my phone because that's just what I do. Charles, what do you got for us?
Not much. I finally got the. Let me see. Oh yeah, I was just sharing this with everyone else. I got a phone call for a doctor's appointment for something, and strangely enough, the hospital that contacted me was all the way over in Eastern Washington, and I'm like, I'm not driving that far, and they're like, well, why did it get routed to us? I said, I don't know. It's your system. It's your service. So
Wow.
I.
Excuse me. Yep, that's always a fun time.
Yeah, so they like, oh, we need to get hold of your service. It's like, yeah, I like to stay in the Seattle area, so they said they called me back, and that was last Friday. So it's Wednesday. So
I was
dry
gonna say,
on
I was just
food.
thinking in my head, like, I know we do the show on Wednesdays, but I was like, there was a part of my brain that wanted to like confirm. So wait, so today?
Yep.
No, today is Wednesday. That's basically almost a week.
My dudes.
Yep.
That's great.
So
I have
anyhow,
a question as a follow-up to that, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
In this sort of scenario where you have a specialist appointment, how far is too far to drive, in your personal opinion?
How far is too far for me to drive? It would basically be, from where we're at, right? It would be the Portland area or up towards Bellingham. I mean, that's 2 hours.
Yeah, roughly 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'd be willing to go down towards the Olympia Lacey area because there's some specialty care down there that I know I can get, and I'd be willing to do that or go over to the peninsula. But it would have to be like this is important type of specialty care. But
your healthcare provider might cover medical transportation.
That is
I know
cover transportation in that regard.
Well, my insurance company does, but it's just a matter of the drive, right? It's
yeah. No, I totally get that. I totally feel that.
So other than that,
no, I'm just bringing it out. Put the wear and tear on someone else's car.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, not me. I wasn't gonna say me, but it's like your best buddy that lives a county over.
No. My plan actually has a caveat. I think it's a deductible I actually pay into that if I have to go to specialty care over, I think it's over 100 miles as the crow flies from my home of record. Okay. Then they pay me per mile, but it's the IRS level of per mile. Which, if you dig into the micro,
oh man, yeah, that's small numbers there.
Yeah, but anyhow, I mean, it kind of puts a gallon of gas in the car now.
About a gallon, depending on which day of the week you go.
And then I got a pay raise, so I'm kind of excited about that. I got it.
Did you get additional responsibilities though?
No.
Oh,
no,
good.
no.
Oh, good.
No.
Clap.
No. It's just the oh my gosh, it's expensive around here. So here's your.
Which gonna retro-date this for 18 months?
No, because if I look at the local media, right, the regional COLA cost of living area adjustment is like 8.5, and I got 4.2.
I don't know. I've ever heard of a COLA that high before.
Welcome to Seattle.
Yeah, when my brother became a cyborg, we had to go do a specialist down in Los Angeles. So that's like 100-ish miles or so from the hobby.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I had to get a hotel room and stuff like that for the stay over.
Yeah, because nobody wants to drive down there, do what you got to do, and then have to drive back.
Yeah, no, and of course, like you couldn't stay over in the hospital one day. Like as soon as the anesthesia wore off, he's like, "Oh, get the fuck out."
Yeah. All right, you're still breathing, so go away. You don't have to go home. You just can't stay here. All right, Wiggles, what's new and exciting for you, my friend?
It's hot. Fucking
Oh.
lied to me. It's hot. It's late September and it's hot.
It's October now,
Why?
brother. It's early October.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hot. It was almost 90 degrees. It's going to be 90 tomorrow.
Oh my God. Listen, I don't know if you know this, but you did choose to live in a desert.
It's hot. 90. It's really cold now.
I'm just
I was
pointing it
lied
out.
to. I was lied to. Those bastards lied to me.
What's the third
getting
G stand
X-ray
for today?
The letter G stands for today, Goblin.
Goblin. All right, that's very appropriate for this time of year.
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna get an X-ray of my knee so they can tell me nothing's wrong with my knee.
Awesome.
That's always fun. It's all in your head. You just need to drink more water because it's hot.
It is hot. No, I do try to stay hydrated. I couldn't get. I went in for my physical today, and I couldn't get my blood drawn because I was too dehydrated.
Ooh.
Couldn't find any veins.
Ooh, yeah, that can be a challenge.
Yeah, my significant other also has an issue, and she's anemic. So even when they find a vein, they're still not sure because nothing's coming out.
Okay, so obviously, I'm not a doctor. Otherwise, I'd have a lot more money in my pockets.
I hope not. You drink too much.
Jesus. Why you gotta tell people that, man? I thought that was a secret. Maybe that's why I drink so much, because I'm not a doctor. What exactly is anemic? I know it has something low something, and I'm thinking low iron.
There's different kinds of anemia. Yeah.
Yeah, she has low blood pressure overall. She also has some difficulty forming platelets. So
Gotcha.
so she's more susceptible to bruises and cuts.
Gotcha.
Thrombocytopenia.
Wow. Thus spoke the doctor of the group. You throwing out those 50-cent words.
No. She has a couple nurses at the VA she prefers having draw blood from her because they get the fact that's happening because the more newer nurses are like, what the fuck's wrong with this? Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah.
Like, no, I got broken blood vessels, man.
Yep, that makes sense. Oh man, excuse me. All right, you got anything else?
It's hot and sucks.
I think you've said that like 6 times. Is it hot there?
It's hot there, and landlordism is a troublesome a relationship.
Oh yeah, landlord tenant. That's always a fun one. Thorgor, what's new and exciting for you, my friend?
I'm just gonna keep the themes going here.
I drank too much. I got it.
No, I'm gonna let that one lie for now. That's better for during the game.
Yeah, the first time I forget something, like it's because you're drinking, isn't it?
That's right.
I see how this is.
So, weather-wise, it frosted here for the first time this year on Friday.
Wow.
It's
I almost feel like you're trying to rub it in
right now. Yeah, I know. Secondly, as far as medical stuff goes, so I got some lab work done last week, and they went over it with me yesterday, and they kind of dropped a bomb on me without any explanation whatsoever.
You're the alcoholic?
And so I did. No.
Okay, I'm done.
I had. I don't drink at all.
Lies.
And that's not a lie.
Anytime anyone says that, I just immediately hit him with lies.
Nah. I just don't like the way most of it tastes. But
I got you.
Anyway, one of the findings on my lab work was almost a death sentence.
Bruh, hold on. Hold on. It's too early in the campaign. I don't want to replace another player.
So that's probably a little bit of an over dramatization, but there was what's called nucleated red blood cells in my CBC, in my circulating blood. And you're not supposed to have any of those in your circulating blood.
Okay, so for the rest of us that have no idea what the hell that means, what is a nucleated blood cell?
When blood cells are made by like your bone marrow,
right?
They're made through division, just like everything else.
Yep.
But before they enter circulation, they dump their nucleus. So a red blood cell can't proliferate itself because it doesn't have DNA. It doesn't have a nucleus anymore.
Okay.
So all the blood cells that circulate through your body dump their nucleus. But when you start to see nucleated blood cells in your CBC, then that generally means you're either bleeding internally to the degree that your body's having a hard time keeping up,
Right.
or your bone marrow is failing, or your spleen has lesions on it or whatnot, and it's leaking immature blood out.
God, not one of those sounds entertaining at all.
And any nucleated red blood cell count puts you in a higher mortality for everything else.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, wow.
But
You got like a
all of my,
blanket.
I
you
went
got-
back in. Yeah, I
Yeah.
went back in today to talk to the provider. I was like, you know, you kind of dumped that on me and then we didn't talk about it. I said, let's talk about it. But all the rest of my findings were good. So
Right.
if I had cancer, you know, of my bone marrow or my spleen or whatever, I would have elevated white blood cell counts and, you know, all sorts of other things going on.
But everything else was
So,
normal. It was just this
Yeah,
nucleated
after
blood cells.
dumping that on me and leaving it on me for 24 hours, he says, you know, sometimes that can also be caused by mishandling of the specimens after they draw the blood. If they don't agitate them enough, the fixative that's in that vial doesn't get to all the blood and some of it dies. And so it lyses, the cells start coming apart, and you can
Okay.
get the appearance of nucleated red blood cells in the sample. So right now, I'm having to go for CT. I've been sick. This is why I was in the first place. I've been sick for like 3 months with stomach issues, not gut issues, let's say. And I periodically have gut issues, and nobody wants to know about all this. But never has it lasted this long. And you know, if you start reading on it, if it lasts longer than a week, you're supposed to go to the doctor. And it's been almost 3 months, so I finally went to the doctor.
And like most men, here we are, 90
Right.
days later.
So at this point, we're going to wait 6 more weeks and take my CBC again to see if it was just an error, you know. But I'm also going for some other testing about my stomach stuff anyway. So we'll see how it all works out. But I'm not as worried about it this evening as I was this morning. So that's good.
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's some progress in there. Not necessarily the best of progress, but progress nonetheless. Yep. So hopefully that all gets resolved. And it sounds like anything that isn't resolved isn't terribly life-threatening. Sounds a bit much, but, you know, terribly debilitating. You know, stuff that you're more or less used to, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So, well, either way, knock on wood, things work out.
Yep,
you got anything else?
Nope, that's it. I'm ready to play.
All right. Well, I am Omar Krieg, your Lord and Commander, and all the other things I usually say. My previous week has been about the same. I did launch a new show last night. It was such a rocky, shaky, poor production effort that I'm going to actually restart this show. I'm thinking I'm not going to stream it tomorrow night, but it may be something next week. So keep an eye out for that. The Omaha's Raiders Prelude to Chaos. I think I'm not going to kill the playlist or whatever's out there. I'm just going to refer to the video that was recorded last night simply as I had the term earlier and I can't think of it now. Basically, it's just more for background and lore. We'll reiterate some of that stuff. I mean, to tell you guys, I don't know if you guys saw the video or not. Here's what happened. I spent like 10 to 15 minutes basically narrating all this stuff with what I wanted to do with this show, and then realized 10 or 15, 20 minutes in, I forgot to hit the recording button. Like classic blunder, right?
So yeah, I mean, that's like a symptom.
Yeah, no, I know. Fuck you. So, and there was a few other problems that we ran into through the course of the evening. Some programming updates that I needed to do that I have gotten done. So basically, I'm gonna take the table, I'm gonna wipe it clean, and then I'm going to start from scratch. And I think what I will do as well is actually stream the starting from scratch process of setting up all the different settings for the Mech HQ program for this campaign, and then we'll take it from there and see what happens. So do keep an eye out. Like I said, I'm probably going to stream that next week because I think tomorrow night, if I do stream, I'm sitting at a solid 80, 20, maybe 70, 30% chance that I'm going to stream tomorrow, assuming nothing comes up. But I think I'm going to do something different tomorrow night. But in the meantime, the Greyland Trios League continues. We are waiting for season 3 of the Brew Bowl, which is the Blood Bowl Sevens gaming that I do with a different community. Plus, there are 1 to 2 other possible projects I may be getting in on in the near future with that other community. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Hopefully things work out well. I'm looking forward to it either way. Previously on Second Star, at this point now, it has been about 2 weeks since the crew returned from Grendel, where they effected a rescue and brought home a number of students, staff, and faculty from the University of Alicia's Llewellyn Station. In the parting moments, just prior to lifting off, a pentapod alien handed a piece of cloth to Joseph Milligan and recommended that if they were ever back on Grendel again, they look for the pentapods, or perhaps there may yet be more trade in the future. And then in our opening sequence, we see a small rocky world that orbits a dim red star, but more importantly, we see a vast number of arrow-shaped ships within clear view. A smaller portion separates from the main body and moves directly towards the surface of this rocky world without a name. The remaining portion of the fleet continues onward from the planet into the inky black of deep space. Those same ships shortly disappear, and then the viewer sees the shot of them arriving at another star system, reforming into their formation and moving into the inner system. A pair of ships, roughly tubular, both sporting the Canadian flag on their dull gunmetal-colored hulls, are each struck by a pair of missiles, destroying the ship silently as the invading ships move closer to the local world. In the distance, faintly visible, a number of similar explosions can be seen as more and more ships are struck and destroyed, including 1 or 2 of the dark arrow-shaped ships. The screen fades out to black, and then slowly the current date appears on the screen in the bottom left corner, 15th of June, 2297. So we have advanced about 2 weeks since you guys have returned. A couple of note-taking moments. Upon returning from the rescue mission and following some initial debrief by the university staff and ultimately Tankerson, everybody that went on the mission receives 3,000 Libra from the University of Alicia. So go ahead and add 3,000 Libra to your stash. Also, Tankerson, as per his promise before setting out a few days prior, he will also pay you guys, as well as Reese and Karina, the 3,000 Libra that he had promised. So that's a total of 6,000 for everybody that left and came back. And then lastly, the school decided that since everybody that went out came back with everybody else, like basically everybody left, everybody came back that was supposed to come back, and nobody was injured, nobody was killed. The only issues were, of course, Professor Struer and his, we'll say, lost mental faculties. But basically, because everything went so well, there's an additional 25% bonus applied. So the total number that everybody that went on the flight receives is 6,750 Libra. Go ahead and add that in there. And then additionally, George Wyatt, Fritz Hellwig, and anybody else that didn't actually go on the mission will receive 2,000 Libra for their ground-based efforts in support of the main effort.
Ooh.
So in the Wyatt household, they have earned just shy of $9,000 for 3 days' work of effort. And then 2 weeks pass. And during that time, there's been some interviews with Aliceport news outlets to get the story out. The pirate problem in the Outer Belt has been resolved during those 2 weeks. And I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes, and if you want to investigate further, that may or may not require some dice rolls. But here's the gist of it. There apparently were 2 separate pirate bands that appeared to be at war with each other, catching the local mining and other civilians in the crossfire until the military intervened and defeated all of them at some cost to the local British and French forces. Additionally, Tankerson has become generally impressed with you guys, and in particular with Milligan, once he hears of all the stuff that has took place on Llewellyn Station. And based on that, he is going to want to have a sit down sometime during this 2-week stretch in order to formalize the hiring of you guys with a contract and knowing where exactly everybody, basically where everybody falls in together, like who's doing what and who's part of which group or whatever, and proposes that a meeting does take place sometime in that 2-week stretch. I'm just giving the rest of my notes just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. And then, of course, the short version, the 2 LC-10s that Barrier Aerospace had are both now officially off limits for the time being at the very least. Both are actually owned, by the Commonwealth Bank of Beowulf, with Barrier Aerospace making monthly payments up until very recently anyway. One of those planes was actually subleased to the university in order to help offset the costs, but because of investigation by the local trade authority, or whatever the British Commonwealth Empire, whatever Britain calls itself now, whatever their version of some sort of, like here in the U.S. we have like the FCC. Is that not
No, that's Federal Communications.
That's communications. What's
FFA.
You want, you want FTC.
TC? Yeah, thank you. The Federal Trade Commission. So whatever their version of that is, they're actually investigating as far as the bankruptcy filing, whether or not it was legit. And then, of course, so kind of similar to, when people will like burn down their house and then try to claim the insurance on it. They're looking at the owners of Barrier Aerospace as, did you really just try to declare bankruptcy and then bolt? Or is this bankruptcy actually like legit? And if it is legit, then there's liquidation of tangible assets and all that other stuff. So, long story short, the 2 LC-10s that you guys were initially sent to go find out about and make an initial offer on is no longer an option. 4 o'clock decommission. Nice. Okay, so here's my question for the group. We have 2 things to consider. 1, what is everybody doing during this 2-week stretch? And 2, somewhere during that 2-week stretch, Iron Mike Tankerson wants to have a sit down in order to put you guys on contract to be part of his, to be one of his quote unquote special projects teams or special projects groups. If you guys recall, when you originally sat down with him, he already has a team or 2 of these quote unquote troubleshooters. And he's been looking at adding you guys as another team, so that what he wants to do is effectively make it official and put it on paper, which would include obviously paychecks and stuff.
He's gonna put a ring on it?
Sound like it.
If by ring you mean a steady amount of Libra every month, yes. So, Charles, we'll start with you.
All right.
Charles.
So Fritz being home based for this 2 weeks, he is. I think he would be doing just some checking up on the local media that was involved with this, with a certain story done by another member of the crew, and just making sure that
yeah.
if it's not still in the front, it may have drifted down to the odd numbered pages and below the fold.
Below the fold, nice. And so your intent is to put it back towards the top?
Not really, just like paying attention to it.
Oh, just keeping an eye on it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, keeping an eye, because I mean, somebody basically broke the law of omerta and maybe calling on things for us. So he's being security conscious that he is.
Yeah.
Is trying to make sure he's ear to the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think one thing that you pick up is that at least locally, and by local I mean within this star system.
Yeah.
The big thing that you pick up is that since you guys got here and got released from Flex and started working with Tankerson, you guys did this mission and everything else. So in that like 2.5 to almost 3 week stretch, the big thing that you get is that whatever happened in that press conference, it has gone up. It exploded like a firework, and now everybody has kind of moved on to other things because if you remember, there was that big pirate scuffle going on, and
Yep.
then it almost overtook or overpowered or overshone the fact that there was these staff and students on Grendel that were about to get marooned out there and have to basically try to ice over Antarctica. So a few other things have taken the news. So for the most part, a lot of that spotlight has faded away. Of course, that doesn't mean anything about the actual Empire of Mankind in anything associated with them, but as of late, you're not picking up a whole lot from them either.
Okay.
Nothing,
So,
at least
yeah.
nothing that clearly points identifiably to, yes, this thing right here that's going on is the Empire of Mankind.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna that's all my guy's been kind of doing. And that you just as a side note, out of character, you said that Fritz got 2,000 for being home based, right? For the
Correct.
cash.
Yeah.
Okay.
The people that stayed on the ground and did support things, or like I know like
Yep.
Fritz and Wyatt basically were doing like an inventory of what was left for
Yeah.
the company's assets. Those people would have gotten the $2,000 for at least helping out in some aspect. Did I remember to open with welcome, welcome, welcome? I did. You son of a bitch, Rev. Thank you for trying to come in here and screwing that up.
All right.
Kidding.
So, and then other than that, the only other thing that Fritz is kind of doing is is talking to Blaine about how the two troopers did up on the adventure, and then providing guidance. Would that be the proper term?
Mentorship.
Mentorship, fiscal counseling. That would be the better.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. These 21-year-old shitheads trying to spend all their money. They're already at the gift shops. You should know that.
I know they're already at the gift shop. I'm just like, at least put some away as a line of credit. Come on,
All right, Rev,
put
take
some
these,
away.
Yeah.
So, and then making sure that we end up going to the Shield and Guard bars to go get drunk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hey, do me a favor, Mr. Former Agent type. Give me some sort of basic investigation role for me, since you are kind of keeping tabs on various news outlets and rumor mongering and whatever else.
Okay, hang on. I gotta finish typing a note for myself. All right, and let's do this. And she says that's a
4.
A 4 with a 2 is a 6.
All right, yeah.
Plus,
good.
I'm gonna say my social's a 0, so that's yeah.
Well, I mean, are you using your social skills, or is this more of your textbook investigation?
My textbook, so my intellect, so that'd be a 7. Then.
Well, use your education if it's textbook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's a +1.
So we end up with a 7 regardless. I'll give you this.
Yep.
I'll give you a partial success, which really doesn't exist in Traveler. You catch wind of something that sounds like or seems to otherwise suggest that perhaps some of the pirate activity in the Outer Belt was actually in some possibly indirect way connected to the Empire of Mankind. But any lead you try to follow up on with that idea ends up panning out to nothing. Yeah, and it ends up being a dead lead. So there's no way for you to verify the veracity of that, or if it's just a red herring from your GM.
Right. All right. So I mean, I'll take that back to Mr. George Wyatt and to Mr. Milligan and just say, hey, your oh my gosh, Flex is in cahoots with Empire Man have disappeared. The Empire Man have kind of faded into the background. No one really cares. Stuck students, blah blah blah. Everything you just emphasized a second ago.
Yep. Now you can choose to do a more specific investigation on that if you would like. You don't absolutely have to.
You know what? Yeah. Let me.
That about the same time you guys showed up, all of a sudden this pirate activity was just going absolutely bonkers, and then it lasted for something like the better part of 2 weeks before the military was able to squash it all.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go find the local equivalent to the security force bar, the
The local
space.
VFW.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it,
that
so-
and you know,
What's that, Milligan? Our third
I
order?
said, yeah, that exactly.
Yeah.
Go to the space VFW.
right? And then just kind of go and do the whole hey, kind of looking for some information, back in my day, blah blah blah, the Empire of Man. I mean, I'm not really mentioning the Empire of Man, but it's kind of weird that piracy is being active like this, and that the
Especially when
locals
it's
aren't
three
really doing
different groups all of a sudden. I'm sorry, go ahead.
right. I'm gonna say, hey, there's kind of weird that way back in my day, the local space force was able to put this down. What's up with these young kids nowadays? And da 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 da. And kind of semi egging, and then also like adding leading questions.
Yeah.
And then let me do another roll just because
Yeah, and
it's
this one
fun.
this one used social because it's definitely a social interaction.
Yeah. Let's see what I got.
God
Oh,
damn.
another 4. Another 4.
Wow.
So that's just a straight 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that you're not able to get anywhere. Maybe you almost get the feeling like maybe the VFW wasn't the best place because these are all a bunch of old hats. Maybe if you
Right.
can figure out where the current hats go to have a drink at, you might have better luck.
Okay.
Or maybe a different approach altogether. But this one is definitely not panning out.
All right, so I'll just kind of leave it, and then I'll let somebody else go for a second before I decide
Alright.
what's going to happen next.
All right. Wiggles. What are the Wyatts doing as a general rule of thumb over the next 2 weeks?
So they probably have like a really long conversation about what to do, which includes like maybe going back to Earth and working for Alicia's family company for shipping as like kind of like a standby thing. It's not like the greatest option because that comes with a lot of baggage, comes with a lot of restrictions and whatnot.
Right.
Because they got like 30,000 credits, so they have more than enough money to like get to Earth.
Yeah, I mean, it
Uh,
sounds right. Like, you'd have enough money to get there and maybe swallow some pride and go work for your wife's family's company. And because right now it doesn't look like anything else is working out. At least that's a start, a safe place to go before you figure out your next big move.
Yeah, and and then we realized like well, we also have like 30,000 30,000 Libra, which means that like we don't have an immediate urge to make the decision right now. We can
Take a vacation.
afford to sit and wait. Yeah, so we worked really hard on that ship that really kind of dinged us over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we decided to give it like a week and a half of just kind of like breather room and just see where we are. And George finally got to ride his goddamn dirt bike.
And damn it, I don't have a good way to get him to not ride it right now either. Finally gets to ride his dirt bike like a month or so later. He's probably out in the backwoods of Beowulf just ripping dirt up. What is this written over here that I feel like was written by Wiggles? Wipe it clean with at least 3-ply shit tickets.
Like,
I'm not sure what.
I know where that's from. I know exactly where that's from.
I don't get the reference, but I'm going to move on. All right, Wiggles. Anything else you want to get into, or is that about it for the Wyatts?
Yeah, for the most part, they just kind of like they take a vacation for like a week and a half. And, they take a breather and whatnot, and just kind of like give themselves kind of like room to think and breathe because they don't necessarily need to jump into anything right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the last 2 months, give or take, like things have been pretty much like go 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 ever since you left Alpha Centauri or Terrain, and now that this, you came into Beowulf, you had the whole oh my god the ship's gonna crash, and then as soon as you resolve that, you were basically put under arrest, and as soon as you resolve that, you start looking for a new boss, And then all of a sudden the boss is like, no, I need you to go to space and rescue some kids. And now things are finally fucking chilled out, and you get a chance to be like, huh, so that's what my wife looks like now.
Oh, right, I'm married.
Yeah, exactly. Thurgor, what is
All
Mr.
right.
Milligan up to? Besides, I'm sure, trying to stir the hornet's nest in some new and exciting way.
Well, yeah. So number one, my question is, were both of the landers in good shape?
Yes, yeah. As
Okay.
far as everything you saw, so like you saw the maintenance
Yeah.
reports. You know, the ground crew for Barrier did their best to try to keep those aircraft or spacecrafts fully functioning. You know, there might be a couple of dings and a couple of things that were, yeah, that's a fault, but we don't have to work on it right away. It's okay as long as it gets worked on sometime in the near future. But overall, generally speaking, like those landers, there was absolutely nothing wrong with them. They performed just fine going up and
Good.
coming back.
Okay. And Alia didn't find anything wrong either.
I'm sorry?
Miss Wyatt didn't find anything wrong
No.
on her end. Nope. Okay. So the other thing, and this is, I don't know, maybe a step back just a little bit, where we kind of glossed over the whole getting here part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But before we arrived on the planet, I wanted to message ahead to the same group of people that I had in the press conference to tell them, hey, we're just coming back from an off-world mission. If you want to see what we're really about, meet us. And I give them the hangar name and with the Bear Aerospace and all that kind of stuff.
Let me reply to
So,
that real quick before you get too
okay.
much further. I think ultimately what you do get back is Barbie Walker, the former combat correspondent, the one that was closer to middle age than young.
Yeah.
And she was actually an intern. She reaches out, or excuse me, replies back to you with "Let's meet for drinks and see what we can figure out." I'm getting the impression across the media circuit, I guess, that any further trying to push your guys' story is basically everything is kind of not getting blocked, but it's not getting ran up the pole, so it's like low priority. Which makes sense, of course, because you got these pirates, you got these people that were stranded, you got the cat down the road for the local what's the word I want to call it, the feel good story, you know.
Mhm.
So
Well, plus this is Flex's backyard, so
yeah, but I
they might
think
have some amount of pull, to
they
keep
might have some
things
ability
quiet or
to
whatever.
yeah, they
Yeah.
might have some pull to try to put the tamp down and keep the story from getting out too much. But you also kind of get the impression, short of actually asking Miss Walker this, you get the impression that that's not really the case here. It's just that everything else is taking much more priority because, well, sensationalism for this,
Right.
this is much more pressing and impactful. You know, the fact that this pirate thing is going on right here, right now, in our own backyard, uh, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, so Miss Walker will ask if you guys could meet for drinks, and maybe she could take some notes and add it to her story. Maybe put a good spin on it. Maybe she could try pushing it up again, but she's
Yeah.
not confident that it's going to go very far. But she is absolutely willing to sit down with you.
Okay. I have an idea on how we can spin it. So,
Okay.
okay. The patch, the
Yes.
Durandal patch,
Yes.
once we get back, um, I'm going to talk with Hellwig. Uh, He's German, but you probably
Yeah.
speak better French than I do, right? What's your French?
Yeah. Hang on, let me take a look at my character sheet. Bum bum bum. Oh, my French is a 0, but
Oh, my
I have
mistake.
a German to have a translation chip, a German to French, which gives me a +1.
Yeah.
So I can plug that into my my little subdermal to translate.
Well, I mean, you're the investigator, so I kind of wanted to turn this patch over to you and let
Okay.
you see what you could find out in the community.
All right.
It's obviously French. It looks like a ship patch. There's no dates of
Right.
service or anything like that on it, just the name and then I guess the ship number or what have you.
Right.
And let's see if we can, hit up more of
Ooh,
those.
speaking of which, I actually have an image of that. Go ahead.
Of
You
the
guys keep
patch.
yeah, keep
Okay.
going. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to turn that over to Hellwig so he can do his investigative stuff, and that will
I'm
also
gonna
keep me off.
kind of look at it and going, initially I'm just gonna go look at it and go, you got a patch, good for you, or something like
Oh, I tell him exactly where it came from, the circumstances that it came from. You know, that it's from an alien put it in my hand, a Pinapod put it in my hand. Told me if I was interested in whatever it meant to come back and talk to him on Grendel again. I said that's not real high on my priority list, but I am at least
right.
interested to see what this is about. So
Hopefully I
yeah, I
don't
would
bog my
see
computer
about.
down. I'm opening up Photoshop real quick so I can do a quick bit of cropping and cut and paste here. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So I'm
see
gonna,
about finding some French veterans and that kind of stuff, and see if you
yeah,
can pump anybody for some info on that.
yeah. No, I would totally go look at that, and so I'll probably take that, and probably you said we're back for 2 weeks, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I'd
I mean,
like to
you've got
know.
basically, for lack of a better way to put it, you're not necessarily on vacation or anything, because daily Tankerson has you guys doing things like, hey, go talk to so and so and see what's going on with this order that I put in 2 weeks ago and why it's not here, and things like
right,
that. Like it's
yeah,
not necessarily busy work. It's just he's got you. There's a problem. I need you to go figure it out and fix it for me and report back. And
right,
nothing is like nothing illegal, nothing extraneous, nothing
yeah,
strenuous.
yeah. It's just like, oh, hey, your assignments today are X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
come back to me by the end of the week or something like that. So yeah, in the middle of that, I'll take this and I'll look at Milligan and say, okay, yeah, I'll take that for action. And I'll since I hopefully can do better than
Well,
before.
I'd like
Are
to
you getting
know
ready to
what
Are
it
you
is.
getting ready to roll right now?
In a second,
All right, let
I'll
me
let
know what you
Milligan
do, and because again, I'm multitasking at the moment.
yeah, I'll let Milligan finish up his thing, and then I'll pick it up from there.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
That works.
Yeah. The last thing I had to say was I want us to have done everything we can to investigate what this patch means before we have our big talk with Tankerson, because if it is going to encourage us anyway to go back to Grendel, and it would need to be a lot of encouragement. I want to know what it's about before we talk to him, so we can make plans, for that, or not, or choose not to. Yeah.
All right, so I'll say this with the Durandal patch. Excuse me, let me get Photoshop out of here. Give me just 1 second here. Was it? No, I don't want to save because I already saved what I needed. I'm just waiting for Photoshop that. There it goes. Okay. In regard to the patch, anybody that knows about it amongst the group, and when I say group, obviously I mean the player characters, but also the NPCs that are your guys' hangers-ons. Tillman, Gray, the three Marines. There's another one, Tran. I think that's all of them, other than obviously Mrs. Wyatt. Any of them can go ahead and start looking around once they know about the patch and know the idea is that you want to try to find out more about it prior to the next big sit down with Tankerson.
Yeah.
And that goes for you guys as well as the NPCs in your crew. Now I'll say this: you can make multiple checks throughout the 2-week stretch. You have a variety of options in the method in which you conduct that search or investigation or research. Keep in mind, this is Aliceport. It's a fairly decent sized city. If you look in the handout that I posted in Discord prior to the session, I want to say it's somewhere in like the 50 to 100,000 people kind of size city. So there's going to be a library. There's the University of Alicia, which does have a military history. I don't want to say department, but definitely military history classes. There's obviously a military veteran presence because military veterans are literally everywhere. There's probably a number of other outlets that I'm not even thinking of that you guys could probably come up with on your own. But basically what it'll be is it'll be an investigation search, and you'll need to roll a certain number, and based on your method of search, research, investigation, what have you, different modifiers will be applied. And then based on the results, you may or may not get more information. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep. I want to
Okay.
make sure we image that thing first too. in case
You want to
anything
keep like a
happens to
digital
it.
copy of it? Is that
Oh
what
yeah,
you're saying?
oh yeah, definitely.
That's I'm sure one of y'all don't you have like a video camera or a
I
photo
don't, but
camera eyeball or
I'm good.
something?
I don't. That's the next thing for me to get. We had talks about that before. There's a few things that I can capture, but I can't like take video or anything like that with my natural
Yeah,
eyes.
you could at
So
least take a half
yeah,
decent. Like it may not be the
uh,
highest resolution, most colorful, but I know
yeah.
you've
But
got some sort
I
of.
am gonna get an imager, um,
Yeah,
to keep on me, like a body cam or whatever. And
right.
I'm gonna start recording everything. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep my Portacomp on my hip, and I'm just gonna shun all that footage straight to my Portacomp, and uh, if I'll jack into it periodically and pull what's on it off into my own head
All
and
right.
that kind of thing. So you
Uh,
keep better records that way.
obviously this is black and white image, so sorry, but that's what the book has. This is pretty much a best image I can give you of what the patch looks like. You can imagine the three bars at the top there are obviously red, white, and blue, representing the French flag,
Mhm.
and then the ship number, or I said ship number. I think at this
Whatever
point,
it
we
is.
think we all know it comes from some sort of ship, but obviously the whole number or something, and then the name. Um, Milligan, you were trying to do something else other
I
than
was gonna talk with that lady, but we don't have to do that right this second if you wanna come
okay.
back around.
Yeah, well, let's do a little bit of that actually, but we'll like instead of like a full on RP section, we can kind of do summary
Okay.
interaction if that makes any sense.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, so she'll offer to meet like at a hotel, uh, restaurant, bar, lounge sort of deal,
Yeah.
for drinks, and of course she shows up with her I almost said notebook, but you know the 2300 version of like a tablet or something to be able to take notes on and maybe record things. And she gives you, just the opportunity to let you say your piece. You know,
Okay.
you guys went on a rescue mission. Talk to
Right.
me about this mission.
So, well, I pick up from where, we were deposed
Yeah, yeah.
and how we, immediately started looking
Fired
for
is another
employment.
word.
Right. And that came to us pretty quickly, with somebody that had pretty big confidence in us. I tell her, the problems that the university was having getting their personnel off of Grindel. He's told them he would, step up, take care of that. He used us. We went out on some, I'll just say landing craft and just leave it at that. I won't get into the details about that part of it. I'm gonna tell her, and I'm gonna give her even the sensor data that we collected. I said, in approaching Grindel with all this stuff going on out there, which as far as how you spin this can be a puff piece, and just mention who we were,
Right.
how we were in the news recently, just to make that connection. But there's another connection that may need to be made here. And while this isn't something I can prove, it's definitely way too coincidental to be coincidence. And that
It's
is the
too
fact,
obvious to be coincidence.
right? That is the fact that uh, both in entering Grindel's orbit and in exiting Grindel's orbit, these sensor logs right here will show you that we detected a stealth ship.
I
I
think
don't
she
know
will
if they're following
definitely.
us or if they
She
were
will
involved in
definitely
what was going
ask.
on. Yeah.
Sorry. She will definitely ask, like point blank. Do you think this is one of the quote unquote stealth ships that the Empire of Mankind is using? And if so, why is it sticking around Grendel and not where something more important, say Beowulf?
Well, I would say what's happened on Beowulf recently by my hand is probably important to them to some degree or another,
So maybe
um,
they're at Grendel to observe. To
or
observe
cause a
Beowulf. Let me
distraction.
rephrase that. And this is my fault, not hers. Uh, they're hanging out, hiding out at Grendel in order to observe Beowulf until Grendel moves too far away.
Oh, I don't even know about that necessarily. I mean, they could be following us. We're very intimately tied to some degree at this point with them, like it or not.
Kissing
Um,
cousins, one could say.
and then, also it could have been a military vessel from this system, some kind of stealth military vessel. Why it would be out there and not offering aid, that's where the questions start to fly.
Indeed.
I would think if there was any military ship available, that they would have picked those students up and brought them away from there. So unless this stealth ship is some kind of super top secret, whatever, and they don't want anybody to see it, who knows?
I think
But
so you have the sensor logs, and I feel like there would be like maybe a video sort of component to those logs, right?
yeah,
Not so much like a live camera pointing out from the hull of your ship that sees this other ship, like we would like on a TV camera, but like a video component of the sensor log data. Does that make sense? Like different bar graphs and
right.
whatever.
But like most sensor packages also have a telescope.
Well, yeah, and usually there
and
would
we
be some
actually
sort of
saw the thing.
yeah, exactly. And I think she's kind of sifting through it. She's like, wait a minute, wait, that right there, did the whole of the ship physically change shape while watching it as you just before you went to stutter warp? Is that some sort of distortion because you were in the process of going to stutter warp in that like split second maybe?
I'll
And
look at it
and
again.
she's looking at this like, hold on, because and I point this out because out of character, I forget the exact verbiage. And viewers, you can go to the previous video and listen to the last little bit of it. But the description of that was that it was a delta shaped wing, but there was a reference I made to it changing its shape as you watched it, and then boom, you are at stutter warp.
Right.
And that's what she's pointing out in the sensor log data packet. It's like, wait a minute, did that really just happen, or is that maybe like distortion from the stutter warp field? Is that distortion from the way sometimes light curves and bends when it comes around an object? I'm thinking something similar to gravitational lensing, but more focused like when light. For instance, you know how when the sun is up during the day, it's bright yellow white, but then when it's setting or coming up, as soon as it crosses the horizon, it's all red. And that's because red is a longer wavelength or something like that. Maybe it's a shorter wavelength. But you get the like. She's trying to infer like that, and of course she's not a scientist, so she doesn't understand how that works. So she's throwing weird big words out like she knows what they mean, but she's like 10% accurate.
Well, I'll agree with her that it looks like it, changed its shape and everything. But again, I'm no optical scientist, so
I see what you did
that's
there.
that's why I, am talking to the media so that they can use their resources as well to help everyone figure this out.
20 years from now, Joseph Milligan's going to be known as a whistleblower and nothing else because all he's trying to do is get the truth out to people. He's going to be a tinfoil hat wearing whistleblower.
Yeah, but see, I have a purpose to it. I'm just not talking about the purpose to it. I want the money.
That's how people are going to perceive you and remember you. That's the problem.
If I get the money, yeah.
No, not even if you don't get the money. They're just going to be like, oh, this guy's on TV again? Change the channel. I'm tired of this guy. Don't get new tinfoil for your hat.
Whatever.
Okay.
We'll
Anything
see.
else?
No, just I'm going to supply her, like I said, with all the documents that we did collect.
Okay.
I'm going to give her a narrative of the rescue. Going to give her talk about crazy or the nutty professor.
Oh my god.
And all of that. So,
Now,
but how we managed
okay, let me
to
ask
bring
this.
it all in.
Let me ask this, and I think she's gonna ask similar questions, in a way that a journalist would, because when you describe Struer as quote unquote the nutty professor, is there maybe a better way to describe his condition and what he was going through, so it doesn't make it seem like he was off his rocker, and maybe he was just a victim of whatever circumstance put him in that position?
He's just racist.
Wow.
He was definitely off his rocker, is what I say. There's no question about that. What caused that to happen, I assume, was the presence of the pentapod. Because at one point he said, that he thought we were pentapods coming to take the station over when we looked perfectly human. That's not a normal behavior. And I talk about, how many times he tried, like he tried to penetrate the facility when he could have just walked in, everybody would have been happy to see him, but he was all shifty and sneaking around and then assaulted one of my crew members, but we managed to, subdue him without unnecessary injury. He was definitely
that's right.
crazy.
He did body block Blaine,
Yep.
didn't he?
Yep. and was about to shoot that poor little Neo dog.
Somebody
I'm
was.
not trying to ruin him, but he's probably ruined himself at this point.
Yeah, but I think that's the angle she's coming from. Is like, are you trying to ruin him, or are you just trying to explain
No.
what happened?
No, I'm not.
And maybe
I'm not trying. I'm just trying to be truthful.
exposing the situation or the conditions so that they can be treated adequately. You know, similar to how, you know, we point out mental health problems, not because we want to victim shame or anything like that, but we want to address the underlying problem of like, yeah, this guy might be a little bit out there, but here's what's really going on. Or she, as the case may be, needs treatment, not so much ridicule. And I think that's
Right.
the angle she's trying to get you to
And
agree to.
and that's why we didn't shoot him. You know, we could bring him under control with minimal violence, and that's what we did. You know, because it was our job to go out there and collect all of them,
Yeah,
and we made it happen.
you did. All right. Anything else with Barbie Walker? I'm
There was
surprised.
something, but I can't remember what it was right this second.
It's all right. That's why I have to write shit down, otherwise I won't
Oh,
remember it. And even when I do, it doesn't mean I'm going to.
You know, I've already said something about the Pentapod. That should be an eye opener for her. The fact that there's Pentapods on freaking Grindel right now, and the fact that they seem like they don't care what the weather's like, which is to me weird. But maybe that's a Pentapod thing that I just don't know about. But
No, they
yeah,
just
I would think
bioengineer
it would be.
They'll just
Yeah.
bioengineer better heat management for their bodies.
I would think that would be a notable news feature. You know,
Yeah.
that there's Pentapod presence on Grindel.
Well, nobody knows how extensive. It could just be somebody who landed a ship because he needed to stretch his legs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be a full-on colony and invasion is imminent. Who knows? Maybe Struer was right all along.
I don't think so.
hey, it's 2300, man. You never know what can happen. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, let's go back to Charles. Charles, you've been given information about this patch. You've got a digital copy of it in your pocket,
Okay.
or in your skin, I suppose.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, and describe how you're going to do it?
So I think first off, I'm gonna go off to the university, and I'm going to take the copy of this patch with me and go find the military history professors and just bring up the fact that, you know, I'm going to fib a little bit, just do a little deception and go, you know, my family's had this since blah, blah, blah. Something about the Battle of Grover's Mill, and we're trying to find more information.
Holy shit. Oh my god. I can't believe you just threw it out there, and I caught it immediately. War of the Worlds, right?
Yep.
I thought so. God damn.
I just thought, I mean, it's that time of the season, kids.
No, it
So
fucking works, man. It fucking works.
Right. So yeah, anyhow, I'm going to go with that. It's like, heard some history about the family and da 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 da. You know, I found this patch in my grandfather's material, and we're just trying to find more information. And you know, can you help me find what's going on with this? And you know, where can I track down, or who can I contact, or what do you know? You know, and just basically questions along those lines.
Okay. Real quick before we roll to see what happens here, I want to ask this question. Has anybody within the, let's just say for the moment that this is probably in the 3 to 5 days after your initial return, okay, so you're still roughly the middle of the first week. Has anybody mentioned the Durandal to Tankerson, including in any sort of debrief that you may have done with him? And I'm using debrief rather loosely, by the way. It's not like this would have been a formal thing. He probably would have wanted to have you kind of walk him, or he would have wanted you to walk him through a quasi hour-to-hour retelling of what happened, but like he's not necessarily looking for very specific data. He just wants to know what happened. If that makes any sense.
I would advise the whole reason I wanted to get all the information we could on this before we actually have a sit down with him is because number one, I want to know what it's about, period.
Right.
I want to know if it's something that individually we could take advantage of. And
as in your little group itself, or your group plus Tankerson?
well,
Or both, even.
both even.
Okay.
But ultimately, if I think it's something big, that a group like us isn't going to be able to do anything with,
Right.
um, I want to have all the information so I can say, hey, this is something we got right at the end of the mission. I wanted to research it fully so I could, give it to you with all the details that were possible, and then lay it out for him that way. So it looks like we're proactive in
Yeah, yeah.
following up on ourselves and all that other kind of stuff.
Well,
Like-
I asked for this one reason. Is an out of character exclusively. Tankerson is a patron who may have not just resources or jobs, but also information for.
Right.
So, salt that as needed, and adjust course as needed. The reason why I'm asking, of course, is I just wanted to make sure that at any point when you do talk to Tankerson, what kind of position he's in regarding the Durandal at this point.
Right.
Now, Helwig, would he have brought up anything? Would he have brought anything about this up to Tankerson on his own?
Well, I mean, I assume that the minute Milligan gives this to me, he explains that, hey, no, we're doing, I want to mention this before I bring this up to Tankerson. I mean, everything
Yeah.
that
he just said,
so I'm gonna trust him, and just kind of roll with it and just say okay, and but at the same time, kind of keep my own separate notes about what's going on and what we need to do and things like that, just because I don't know if we if we run across something bad, if I need to how do I say this,
if you need to
keep
call
the
Dad,
information.
how much does Dad need to know?
Yeah, exactly. Not just that, but also based on the recent experiences of Flex keeping all my other radio data. Just just so I have that in my own back pocket.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So back to plumbing for information from the military history professors at the University of Alicia. Go ahead and give me your best characteristic that may apply. Obviously, strength wouldn't apply as an example.
Right.
So either intelligence, education, or even social, because I'm sure during
Okay.
these series of conversations you'd be applying all three. So whichever one's the best, plus your investigation, and make that roll for me.
Okay. I have no whammies. Stop.
Hey,
So
also,
that's a 2.
Could you check your mic for me too? Because you're starting to break up a bit again.
Is that better?
At the moment, yes.
Okay. So I have, that's a 7 with a 2 is a 9 plus the 1 for my education is a 10.
All right, so you've got a total of 12.
Okay.
I will give you a small tidbit of information. What you can glean from these individuals, and let's say there's like 2 or 3 primary teachers, and then 1 or 2 like oh god, what's the word they used? Adjuncts. They're not actually employees of the school specifically. They're just there to help fill
Like
in.
grad students or something else like that.
So when I was going to school in Seattle, they had teachers that were like legit. Like all of these people were legit teachers. First off, let me be clear about that. But there was teachers that were indeed teachers on the payroll of the art institutes, right? And then there were adjuncts, and they were kind of like part-time teachers, effectively, even though they might have been there for full-time hours, anyways.
Right.
And I don't know how exactly that works. Anyway, long story short, 2 or 3 main professors, and then 1 or 2 others that are, they're not exactly full members of the faculty, but they're obviously teachers regardless. What they do tell you, or what you're able to piece together based on some of their stories, is the following. They are aware that there was indeed a ship called the Durandal during the Central Asian War. It was obviously a French ship. There is some conflicting information about whether or not it was a cargo ship or possibly a secret ship, maybe even a spy ship based on the Aconit class frigate.
Okay.
And again, I want to emphasize the conflicting data about it being a cargo ship, nothing special, versus the secret kind of ship, maybe even a spy ship, based on the Iconic class frigate. Those 2 points is like they're almost opposite ends of a spectrum, but they are like clashing hard.
Right. They're basically saying. I mean, it's basically a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. This is what everything points to, but there's nothing definitive.
Well, I think it's more of one person says, no, definitively, it was a cargo ship. I've got notes that says it was a cargo ship. And the other guy says, you're full of shit. It was clearly some sort of a Iconic modified.
Right. Okay. So I'll take that, and then I will go. I guess I'll kind of go out to the library on my own and kind of dig through the equivalent of shipping logs or whatever it is, whatever I can find.
Like public records sort of deal?
Yeah, public. Well, so like, I just know this from doing other games. There's a company called Jane's, right? So they published all sorts. Look, and they would have like, this was released, this was published, and they have annual volumes of what's in service, what's not in service. So I would go back and look at those.
And sometimes it's not about looking at what is in there; it's looking at what is not covered to find out what is actually out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
work. I'm sorry.
Yep.
That might have been some tradecraft I wasn't supposed to tell anybody.
So I'll kind of do that. Just jot down some general notes about that. So yeah, let me take another.
All right.
Investigate, and I'll use my intellect.
Since you're doing, I was gonna say use intellect. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna give you a reroll just because that's the 3rd out of 4 rolls. That was 4.
Yeah, give me a.
God,
come on, baby. There we go. 5, 2 is a 7. So that puts me at 8.
8 total, and I'll give you a 10. Yeah, I think what you ended up getting at this point is you find all sorts of information about the Iconic class frigate. This is a standard frigate type in the books, in the Traveller 2300 books, 2nd edition, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You get so much information about the Iconic that, let me rephrase that. You find something along the lines of 3 or 4 independent sources, all describing, detailing, and listing the different features and stats of the Durandal. And they are so close to each other. It's almost like it was the same person wrote it 4 different times with 4 different publishers. But like the information just completely overlaps exactly the way it should, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's just a little argument about what shade of gray paint was used here,
like
or
some
something
fundamentally
like that.
mundane. It had 26 bolts on this quarter panel. The other guy says no, it was 28. Some superficial thing, and come to find out in a 3rd source that the first series was 26, but the 2nd series was 28, or the first block and the 2nd block. Something stupid like that, right? Now, the problem is, you're not finding anything about the Durandal specifically. You're not even getting a hint of any sort of ship that may have been a modified Iconic that was super secret, squirrely, barely suggested at, because there's even there's an index of some modifications that went out, and these modifications are beyond the normal. Well, here's your Series 1 or Block 1. Here's your Series 2 and Block 2, whatever terminology you want to use there. And then there's like totally separate modifications that instead of using this engine, it used that engine. It's slightly heavier, gives more power, but also conversely, they can't do this. It's not just a normal variation. Like this is like the difference between the M1 and the M1A1 kind of differences. But again, nothing is giving you that feeling of what in the fuck is the Durandal.
Okay. So I'll take all that, and I'll kind of go back to Milligan and say it supposedly exists. It does. I mean, sources are kind of wonky, but we how do I say this? It it might be out there someplace. It might be a lost ship. It might not be a lost ship. No one really knows. All they know is it was used during this war, and it kind of disappeared. But these are the stats for it, and I'll rattle off it or give them a written list of whatever it was, and say
Okay.
this might be something valuable for us to pass on to the boss man to use.
Okay. So I nod with that, and as he relays, all the information that he's gotten, um, what comes to my mind is maybe it was a blockade runner, you know, stealth and cargo, and that's why at the university they were arguing about it. I am going to make this point, and that is at the university they're probably only going to be privy to whatever written information the military supplied to them, and if this was a secret project, undoubtedly they're not going to have information about it.
But also, I feel like, and this is me, the GM, or excuse me, this is me, not me, the GM. I feel like the military history teachers would have contacts and connections that could get additional information that wouldn't necessarily come through strictly official channels, i.e., your military public affairs office or information release people, stuff like that. Having said that, somebody that has access to that sort of information is only going to bleed so much information before their own security access starts coming into danger or jeopardy by releasing such information. So, taking what the teachers are saying is like it's kind of like you kind of have to salt it because like the information they have is correct and accurate, like you're suggesting, but
Right.
also limited in scope to
Yep.
only what is being allowed to be put out.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more than official words, but not a lot.
So my only
but
suggestion at this point is that he try to seek out retired French space military, wherever they're hanging out here in Aliceport, you know. Uh, surely there's a spot for them somewhere,
this would be the
some bar
time to go to the
somewhere.
VFW.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So I mean, if anybody
Next,
is going
try
to
going
have,
there earlier, Hellwig. Now is the
uh,
time you
Yeah.
should have gone.
Now,
so any firsthand knowledge, I think, is going to be found there.
all
To
right.
me, that just makes sense.
All right,
I-
before we do the VFW interrogation scene, sounded bad. What does Wiggles have to contribute either for the Wyattses and possibly their vacation or whatever, or in contribute to the investigation efforts?
So you're having your pizza. I was thinking like half sausage, half pepperoni. But I know you really like green peppers, but green peppers really kind of like give me acid reflex.
I can't tell if he's talking to us and trolling us or if he's talking to his family.
Well, no, I mean, okay. How about we get like a small pizza that says green peppers on it just for you, and then we do half pineapple and half pepperoni on this pizza
Wiggles.
because you don't
Hey.
like pineapple on your pizza.
Wiggles.
Wiggles.
What?
Game time.
Hey, this talk about pizza is quite intriguing, actually. Now I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. But it doesn't answer my question in the slightest.
We are ordering, Alicia and George were ordering pizza for dinner.
I mean, you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I was considering how to phrase my question, which would have been something to the effect of, or is Wiggles trolling us by role-playing the conversation between he and his wife as they're adventuring / vacationing somewhere nowhere near the rest of you guys?
All right, we fucked up back to Barnett Star. We left the story. Bye.
Here you guys have gone home.
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck this. Fuck you. You're cool. We're out.
Everyone should be asking, where's George?
Really? Yeah. Stop looking for a lost ship that may or may not even exist. Where's the rest of your crew? All right, so we're just gonna go with Wiggles and, with the Wyatts off on vacation, totally oblivious to anything to do with the Jarendal.
Yeah, no, they haven't wrote me in yet, and that's fine. They'll vote me in when they're ready.
Okay. No, that's fair. I just, as the GM, I just wanted to ask, so you weren't left out. And at the moment, that's a perfectly valid answer. Back to you, Hellwig.
All right, so at this point, then I'm going to take some information, and yeah, I'm going to migrate on over, I guess, to the equivalency of the local VFW.
Hey, it's him
And-
again. Wonder what kind of stupid questions he's got today.
Right. So I will, yeah, I'll go and proceed to like, hey, I got information about some ship called the Durandal, and have you guys heard anything about it? I'm actually going to use this time. Let me go find my character sheet. Boom, boom.
Are you gonna say Krause?
I'm going to use my. Yeah, actually, no. I'm going to use my Streetwise.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And my I don't have a social, but I'll try Streetwise. So I use my Streetwise and just kind of like roll with this. Maybe use my intellect a little bit with this and say, hey, I heard these tinfoil conspiracies. What sort of other tinfoil have you guys heard? And I kind of heard this, I kind of heard that. You guys seen these types of ships before? Blah blah blah. I'll just kind of ask the question.
Holy
Now I'm
shit.
getting. I
There
got
we
a
go.
12 and a 13.
All right,
There we
so what's
go.
your
Somebody
grand
just spilled their
total? So
guts.
your total right there is 13.
Yep,
I'm
13.
gonna
2
give
in the
you-
Streetwise and
Yeah.
1 in intellect.
Yep, and I'm going to give you a couple extra based on the information you've already been piecing together. Kind of a running show sort of deal. I think this is what
Right.
you end up getting. The Durandal was indeed a secret ship, although there's the conflicting theory as to what exactly its purpose was. The last thing you do know, or the last thing you're able to pick up, rather, is that it was seen leaving Bessiere for Beta Canum, but it never arrived. And any sort of like digging into the stories that's like where the trail, in a very almost literal sense, that's where the trail dries up and goes cold. Is that it was spotted here at this point, it was spotted there at another point. Eventually, it was in Bessiere. It was getting some sort of refit, repair, refuel, something, and then it was headed. It was supposed to go to Beta Canum, and then boom, never showed up. Effectively, for as best as you can put together, it's been missing ever since.
Okay. All right. So I'll take that little bit tidbit information, and just kind of go back and bring that to Milligan and just say, hey, I think this might be a primo time to rope the boss man in. I suspect there'd be adventure time here, and we might be able, we might be able to get a fun ship out of this to go gallivant around that he can pay
it's
the gas
Bessiere.
for.
Oh, there it is, right there. There's Bessiere.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I agree with that, and I am of
Bessiere.
pretty fair confidence that ship is on Grendel somewhere, because I don't think the Pentapods would made a connection if they found that somewhere else to give it to us there. So I'm thinking they know exactly where it is.
So here's what I
So
want
as
to
much-
point out real quick.
Much as I don't like an ice planet, and how long are we gonna have to wait for this thing to swing back around for us to even go?
Oh, it's like 18 months. Like, I mean, you could still go out there now. It's just it's
Oh, we
it's got
could?
it's like an 18 month orbit around the sun. It's just that excuse me, it's just that to keep this facility up and running through all of that deep cold winter, which is like effectively worse than Antarctica deep winter.
Oh yeah.
It's too costly. The potential for damages and possibly not being able to recover anybody. Plus, like when it gets to its, let me see if I can think of the right word. Aphelion, the
Yep.
furthest distance from the sun. It's considerably. It's like a couple of AU away. It's the traffic, or not traffic. The ability to get out there and provide help if something horrible happens is really, really low and costly, dangerous. It's just not sensible. But when it's in relatively close by for 6 months, is when the station gets manned.
Right.
I want to point out. So I just kind of played with these 3 markers really quick. We have over here on the right. Excuse me. Over here, Bessier, and then over here is Beta Canum. More officially known as Beta Canum venaticorum. I don't know if I said that right, but you get the idea. And generally speaking, you kind of sort of have to go through the Queen Analysis Star in order to get there. There might be a couple of different ways, maybe, but the easiest way would be through Beowulf. I just wanted to point that out really quick. Not so much for you guys, but more for the viewers who don't really have a good idea of what the map looks like on the regular. Now, back to the point. I believe the idea is to bring all this information to Tankerson because primo job opportunity is what I heard.
Yes.
Primo job opportunity and salvage rights. Primo paycheck. Salvage rights.
Okay.
I mean, we can make buku cash with the salvage rights. That's my selling point to Tankerson,
right.
Because we earn X percentage on whatever cargo's left in it that's salvageable, and then whatever's left on the ship is as an insurance rate. So yeah.
No, I mean, salvage is you can if you're legit salvager and have half decent lawyers in your pocket, you can make a fuck ton of cash.
He has some decent lawyers. He
does. I was making my statement based on real world, but
yeah.
So let's do this. Let me think for a second. Ironically, as if the GM knew to plan this correctly. Not likely. You get a link call from Tankerson. Actually, no, I take it back. You get a text. All of you do. Not just the 3 of you, but also the NPCs. Everybody gets a text from Tankerson, and it's something to the effect of, hey, let's sit down and have a meeting tomorrow night. And let's say tomorrow night is Friday night, right?
Right.
Food and drinks on me. Let's meet at my house. Let's go over the agreement that we have, and so I can get you guys added to my payroll, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Sounds good.
That includes the Wyatts who are on their vacation at the moment. This is the best I could do to interrupt Wyatt riding his dirt bike for no reason but to ride it.
And I will mention a Hellwig. I'm like, when we start laying this out to Tankersley, if he has any questions, be completely 100% open and honest with your investigation. Because as connected as he is, chances are he already knows we're out here asking questions.
Okay.
So he probably already knows we're onto something.
You get Paul Gray suddenly poking you in the elbow like that scene in The Office, and you're like, "Whoa, shit!" Dwight and Pam? That's not her name. The blonde girl. I can't think of her name.
Angela.
Angela, yeah.
And snuck up behind him.
Yeah, there's Gray. He's like, "Oh God, I forgot what I was gonna say because I was trying to make the joke. Damn it." Shit.
Is that alcohol?
Yeah, probably. Fuck you. Oh man, it's not a good role playing session if I don't cuss out my players every now and again.
So yeah. Anyhow, I look at Milligan and I shrug my shoulders and say, "Sure, I'll be totally honest. I can be totally honest. Don't you trust me?"
Okay, you know what? This is what Gray does speak. I'm like, that doesn't sound like someone who's going to be totally honest.
I kind of shoot a glance over at Gray, and I just look at him and go, "You're learning, Padawan. You're learning."
Man, I really wish I could remember what the hell I was going to have Gray say. God damn it. All right. Shall we advance to the meat?
I just have one more quick question.
Sure.
In this, I don't know how much time has passed since we've been here, but I do want to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I do want to try to get my eye while I'm here, if possible.
Okay. I'll answer your question first off. At this point, it is roughly 1 week since coming back.
Okay.
And that's the basically the midpoint of the 2 week stretches when you guys have this sit down with Tankerson. Now, talk to me about this eyeball that you want to put in your skull.
Okay. So I just want a single cybernetic eye. and I want it to have thermal imaging.
So that you could see in the thermal bands, basically see
Right.
vision based on thermal differences.
Yep. There's a low light version too. I'm not as interested in spending the money on that since the thermal gives me that as long as it's a living heat
Okay.
producing thing.
Yeah.
So that's really, I think that's the only option I see in this book anyway.
How much is that going to run you?
Uh, 40, wait,
Ooh, that's pricey.
5,200.
Oh,
5,200.
5,200. I thought you were about to say 40 grand. I was like, ooh,
No,
that's
it's
pricey, man. Are you
5,200.
sure? Now, correct
Well,
me if I'm
and then-
wrong. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles.
I'm gonna say, I mean, that's gonna lay him up for so many weeks,
Yeah.
based on the cybernetic.
It
We're gonna get
doesn't
there
say
too.
in here. Yeah, I was looking at that. It doesn't say in here. I would, just knowing about surgeries and stuff.
It's probably in the
That would
core
be,
book.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it is in the core book.
the traveler book.
What are we talking about?
Thurgor
The
wants to put
recovery
a
time for a
cybernetic
cybernetic
eye
eye.
into space.
Oh, no, not listed at all.
Really?
What?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna fucking GM wave some shit then. So here's what's gonna happen. First,
Oh,
as I recall, there are no like availability roll type shits like there are in some other games. So generally speaking, it shouldn't be terribly difficult to find such products. So you're able to find the product, you're able to find the dude to put it in your eyeball. I need you to make what's your endurance?
Low.
Give me. I'm looking at your endurance right now.
It's a
You
6.
have a 6. Well, that's just a +0 modifier on a
Yep.
2d6 that needs an 8. If you fail,
Ooh.
the
What?
amount by which you fail is the number of days you're spent on your back.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily immobilized, but like if you move, you're gonna fuck something up.
Yeah.
So go ahead and make
Okay.
your 2d6 roll to see how you recover from the surgery, or how good of a doctor you have. Okay, well you're good. You're fine.
Good.
After about 24 hours of and maybe this is why Hellwig is doing all the legwork. And you're just like, hey
Because I'm out
man,
doing
go
my
run this
surgery?
down because you spend a couple of days just chilling out at home or in a bed somewhere after the surgery. Okay. So go ahead and take the, what'd you say it was? 5 grand, 5,200, something like that?
Yeah, I know that there's an option, but it's not in that 2,300 book. I was looking at tools for frontier living. It only lists a few options for that eye.
well,
I-
and you can look
I-
at the central supply catalog for the main Traveler game if you
Is
want
that where
to.
it is?
Yeah,
You can
there's some
look
other
at it,
options.
usually you just have to stay below a certain tech level. Like, in
Right.
this
Yeah,
case,
yeah.
11.
So I think
Yep.
there's an option for it to make it harder to detect, and unless that's insanely expensive, and I bet it is.
It probably is. And also,
I
I
would-
may add a modifier based on the fact that, whatever tech level that is, I'm trying to think. Effectively, the tech level differences increases the price. If that makes any sense. Like, if you were to try to find something that's more difficult to detect, but it's normally at, say, tech level 13, and you're trying to get something at tech level 11, to get it to have that same effect, that the price goes up dramatically.
Yeah, so if you do the availability rolls, the tech difference between the planet and the item is a negative to the search roll. But then you could do things like take longer or like pay double or triple the price to order to buy that off. So that's how it becomes more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is
I-
like
you know-
there's something called natural looking, and that's only tech level 10. There is a tech level 14 version of it, but at tech level 10, it costs 25% of the base cost of the augment, and it makes detection checks.
So what does that put you at?
Against
Somewhere
that.
in the neighborhood of 65 to 7 grand?
Yeah, the 25% of the base. Well, shoot, I freaking closed that book.
5,200 was the price for what
I
you
think
wanted.
3,000 was the base, so
Okay, so 25% of that is going to be 750.
750. Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna go for tech level 10 variant of natural look, so it's got like probably like a +2 modifier or -2 modifier.
You got it.
Detecting it.
It's +2. Yeah.
All right. Is it electronic?
+2 against detection.
Do you have like
Is it
a
electronic?
battery or
Well, yeah.
something for it?
I don't think it has
Or
to be
not a
powered in
battery.
that way.
It'd probably run off of bioenergy or some shit.
Probably so. Yeah.
Body energy, body thermal, whatever the fuck the term is. Okay, but it is effectively electronic though, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean, EMP or something like that might knock
Gotcha.
it out since it's not hardened.
Okay.
That's why I have the other eye.
Yeah, so by Friday, you're probably like getting used to having this new eyeball. You've got the hang of it. You every now and again you do the whole close one eye, open the other eye, see what's different. But you're starting to get to the point where you're not really seeing the big differences anymore. It's when you have to concentrate in order to find them. Does that make sense? As
Yep.
far as like trying to reconcile the new eyeball, similar to
Mhm.
Cyberpunk 2077. Here, take 2 huffs of this asthma inhaler and do it again in 4 hours, and you'll be fine.
Meth is vitamins to an Ed runner.
Yeah. So that takes us to the meeting. Unless there's anything else that anybody wants to get done prior to kicking off the meeting.
Nope.
Okay. All right. I am not going to role play it out. I'm just going to kind of give you like the Cliffs notes, and I'm going to go one at a time. Here's how it starts. First off, you're at Tankerson's house, and this is like he basically lives in this villa outside of the main city itself. Probably something to the effect of like a solid 30-45 minutes from the starport if you try to take like the most direct way, which isn't necessarily the best way to go. Based on, let's say traffic or some shit. When you get to his house, it is just like a lot larger than you might think it would be. Somehow this dude has kind of like, picture something, if you've seen Scarface, picture a house similar to that. Just this massive, let me rephrase that. He doesn't have like a full-on mansion or castle or anything, but he's got a pretty big spread. And a lot of it is walled off with a couple of different gates or what have you. Clearly, at some point in time, this guy made some sort of real estate gamble, and it paid off, and he was able to capitalize on it and really build this place up. So he's got, if you think of something like the White House, where you have that main central, I'm gonna say wing, even though that may not be the right word. You got that main central wing, and you've got 2 other wings coming off of it, kind of a squared off U shape almost. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so that's the kind of setup that he's got. It's not ridiculously large, but it is bigger than you might have expected. Effectively, he starts off with, once again, reminding you or just saying it again that, he's been impressed with what you guys have been able to accomplish even on this initial mission, even though the initial mission that he sent you out to do, obviously you weren't able to complete it, but it did lead to something that was more important, and you guys took the ball and ran with it, and you scored a touchdown, or some other sort of, no, actually, he would say it exactly like that. He'd probably use more football terminology, because, he played college ball. He has 1 or 2 other teams. He doesn't give you a specific number. He kind of hints that there's like 1 or 2. There might actually be 3 or 4, but he doesn't clearly state that he has a couple of teams. Basically troubleshooters, or he calls them special projects groups. And effectively, as he had stated previously, these guys will go out and handle different problems, ideally in a legal sort of way. Because he doesn't need anything to come back on him. As far as any sort of like illegal shit, he makes the following recommendations, and what he would like to say, not sus at all. He makes the following suggestions as far as the team composition. First, Helwig, he would like you to be the team lead for the direct action team, which would consist of you, Blaine, Aiello, and Spearman. And in this case, direct action can be local security or other kinetic applications based on needs at the time of a particular mission.
Okay. I can do that, boss man.
This may include, and of course, he kind of gives you that look, and he's kind of got that, I know something about you that we haven't really discussed, and you may not have discussed openly with others. I know you are currently experiencing some sort of aversion to spaceflight. I'm gonna need you to find a way to get over that.
I. Um. Oh. Okay. All right, I like money. I like food.
I like where you're going. I like money. I like getting paid. I like being able to eat. Figure snap. I'm over it.
Okay, well, not even that as much as I look at him and I just like, I'll do my best. I can't promise, but I will do my best to get over the hassles, and we'll adjust. And what's the health plan look like? And can we get some time with some therapy?
Yeah. So, how many miles does he have to travel away from his house of record before you start paying him mileage?
That's hilarious.
That's wow. Way to put some real life shit in there. For the viewers, we were just talking about that very topic right before we went live, so that's why Wiggles decided to throw it in there. Well played, sir. Well played. Okay, good.
Yeah. So otherwise, I just look at him and say, you're the boss man. I'll do what I can. Like I said, I prefer to not go airborne, but I can do what I need to do. So let's work through it. Why don't you set me up with if you're willing to pay for some therapy stuff, I can take some therapy sessions, and we'll get through it. And otherwise, I can grit my teeth.
I think he gives you that. I got one. I'll do you one better. And he pulls out a literal piece of paper. Maybe it's a 3x5 note card. Maybe it's just a piece of paper that he had in his pocket. And he pulls out a pen and he writes down the name and a clinic name. So it's like Dr. Sanderson. I don't know. I totally just made that name up on the spot. Dr. Sanderson at the West Side Clinic. Go see him. Tell him I sent you. And tell him you need some sort of anxiety medication specifically relating to spaceflight. He's gonna give you some spaceamine.
So
similar to Dramamine, but it works for the mind.
Right. So go see Dr. Feelgood and get the good drugs. All right.
Yep. And tell him to kill me. And if he has any questions, he needs to link me.
Okay. We'll do.
This guy's got.
And I go back to eating whatever's eaten on the table.
Oh God. Oh my God. So I had this thought a few days ago, I think before I prepped this, and I didn't get a chance to put this in here. I think this is going to be the running joke for Tankerson. Every time he wants to have a sit-down meeting where there's food involved, he's going to suggest tacos. But when you guys show up for the food, it's never going to be tacos. I don't know why that amuses me so much, but I fucking love it. And so he definitely, I won't say lured you here to this meeting with the idea of tacos, but when you get here, it's basically he got Subway to come cater.
Yeah, and I'm gonna okay. At that point, I'm just gonna go. But I was promised taco time.
Don't worry, we'll get tacos. I love tacos. We'll get tacos. We'll get it figured out. Have a sub. They're good. Look, they got roast beef over there, and they got seafood and crab over there.
Right. Okay. All right. I mean, Hellwig just kind of moans a little bit. They promised me tacos.
I keep getting this. By the way, I keep getting this image in my head whenever I'm thinking about Hellwig. Is that one scene a number of episodes ago now where he's got that frozen burrito that he's half nuked and he's like just waving it around as he's trying to make his points about talking about how shit's fucked up.
He's doing that again.
Yeah.
He's doing that again. Holding half a sandwich. Just they promised me tacos.
No, this is what I'm picturing. Is you got the Subway to kind of like do that little bit of droopy, so it's like a sad droop now.
Yeah.
I was promised tacos. Tacos don't droop. All right. And then Tankerson will look at this point directly to Mr. Wyatt and Mr. Milligan. And he says, in effect, that one of you two will be in charge of my support team, which will consist of Mrs. Wyatt, Tran, Tillman, and Gray. The support team is the group that facilitates as needed the direct action team or the group as a whole. And he needs one of the two of you to take charge of it. And what I, the GM, want to hear now is you guys arguing about who's better. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead and
I
discuss.
I want to know what the other position is.
Okay, Mr. Wyatt, what is your initial response to this statement?
That I would like to know what the other position entails.
Sounds like interesting and varied work. You know, part of the reason why the Mrs. and I joined up with Lexstokes, it seemed like to be a stable gig with a ability to move toward you know, a more stable financial future. And so I guess that's really just my main question is this, are you giving me a young man's job who's just starting out, or are you giving me a job for someone, you know, who's got decades of experience?
So I think at this point, what he does is he actually takes a moment and he finds a. All right, so in the real world, we would at this point probably draw up or pull out a dry erase board, right? And maybe it's one that's on like an easel instead of one that's mounted on a wall. And then
This big circle's me, and I have all the money, and this little circle's you. So shut the fuck up.
That's awesome. Not where I was going. That's awesome. And so what he does is he basically pulls out this dry erase board, but it's digital. It's like it's a tablet, like this big fat tablet, right? And he pulls up this he starts drawing up this like this little hierarchy scheme. And what he does is he puts himself at the top, and then he does like one or two people directly, or two or three people directly underneath him. And then for one of those people directly under him, he puts either, well, he puts a W. No, this is, I'm sorry, this is what he writes: W or M. And then underneath that is Hellwig. And on the same level, M or W. And then he shows like the direct action team under Hellwig, and then a support group, or support team rather, under the W or M.
Okay. So that's another. The one that's online with Hellwig is labeled as what?
Hellwig is the direct action team.
Right, but you said there was another that was on the same line as him.
Yeah, the other one on the same line as him is W or M. Basically,
what is the job title for that one, or does it say?
Team leader.
All right, that's me.
And then so this is what he's done. I wish I should have actually drawn this up and given you guys an actual visual. What he's saying is this: either Wyatt or Milligan at the top, and then directly beneath that is Hellwig, and on the same line as Hellwig is either Milligan or Wyatt.
Yeah. So I tell Tankersley, you know, I left the space military when I did because I saw my career headed only towards management. And that did not appeal to me at all. I'm great in a team situation, but I don't want to be the one ultimately in charge.
I think Tankerson will look over to Mr. Wyatt and be like, "Sounds like you're the man to be in charge of this entire affair."
You know, I do have previous experience managing a complex organization with dozens of people.
Oh.
And other corporate speak to upsell myself.
Yeah, no, I caught the corporate speak in there.
And we made money.
And we made so much money.
Actually, yeah, I did make a shit ton of money.
Yeah, something like 600 grand profit, I think it was.
Yeah, no, I was doing quite well.
Yeah.
Empire Mankind loving spinning that.
If they're not spinning it, Flex is.
Yeah.
All right, so I think at this point, Tankerson is just going to kind of look at the two of you again, Milligan and Wyatt, just to confirm. So basically, what he's saying is, or what he's asking is that Wyatt is the group is in charge of you guys, and that Milligan will be the support team leader. Hellwig will be the direct action team leader. And is everybody at this table in agreement with this breakdown? And just for the record, by the way, he has just done the corporate salesman boiler room, Glenn Ross, always be closing, ask, and now he has sat back in his chair with his arms over his chest and waiting for the answer.
I just look at him and go, yeah. Like I said, I like the money, I like the food, I like to have the house over the head, and then if this leads to an opportunity to retire happy and wealthy, then let's do it.
He still doesn't say anything. He just nods and looks at the other two for their answer.
The missus and I, we discuss things back and forth, and in agreement, we agreed to work with this guy.
Again, he nods. Doesn't say anything. Now he's looking directly at Milligan for the final answer.
Tell him to shove it, Milliken.
And I look over at Wyatt and go, stop it. I want to be rich. I want to live in a house like this.
We just found Hellwig's fucking, oh god, his weakness, how to turn him, how to flip him. Just promise him a bunch of money in a big house. And I mean big.
So I say I'm ready to talk fine details.
Outstanding. I don't have any fine details specifically in mind right now, but basically what he is doing, and he will actually pull out some sort of digitalized contract terms and options and things of that nature. What he's looking at doing effectively is hiring you guys collect as a group, broken down in the way he's described already, as retainers. Basically, you are on call to do whatever he needs you to do. The contract will give you obviously some limitations as to what is okay for you to do, what's not okay for you to do, what he's going to ask you, and what he cannot ask you to do. So there's limitations. Like, I'm using some very vague terms, and I'm sure there's actual legal words that can be used here. I can't think of them, or I don't know them. Effectively, he's asking to put you guys on as retainers. You'll have a monthly stipend. Excuse me, not a stipend, a payroll. Paycheck, sorry. And it will look something to the effect of individual team members will receive somewhere in the neighborhood of, a couple thousand a month. The two team leaders will receive like 3,000 or 4,000 a month, and the overall group leader will be in the 5,000 to 6,000 a month. And this is your normal. Every month you get this. If you go on specific missions, similar to, like, for instance, what you just did for the students of the university, that additional money is added. You still collect your regular paycheck. If nothing is going on, you still collect your regular paycheck. He also, in the contract, there are open-ended terms, and I don't know if that's the right phrase to use, but humor me for a moment and let me explain what he's trying to say. There are open-ended terms where Tankerson will be looking for a starship with one or more ground vehicles as deemed necessary in order to give you guys additional mobility and flexibility in order to do the different missions that you may be assigned. And then it also lists certain things like who's going to take care of the maintenance and the monthly costs and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't necessarily have to go into all that detail right now because obviously we don't have a ship. And there's actually a clause in the contract stating, in effect, these terms are still open for negotiation at a later point, at which time a ship and other assets are acquired is when that negotiation will take place.
So at this point, I take that patch and just slide it across the table to him.
I cock an eye and look at him briefly. Look at Milligan briefly and go, shouldn't we look at the contract first, or do you just want to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right.
That sounds like Milligan is like all in at this point.
Yeah.
All right, and then I say, so about this clause on such and such page about a ship. What if I told you we may have heard a story, and then I say, I
got
need
in
a few
trouble
drinks.
with some clowns downtown, and how I'm moving into a down in Bel Air.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right.
So I proceed to like run through the whole gambit of stuff. And I said, this is all just innuendo and story, but we got this from this pentapod. Believe what you want to do about pentapods. I am indifferent about them, but everything seems to point to this thing existed, and it's out there somewhere. when I just kind of whistle the X-Files theme, and then
The truth is out there. Oh man,
Yeah.
I wish I could pull that because I got the melody in my head right now, but I know I can't whistle
Right.
it for shit. I
Right.
think we get Tykerson kind of like stunned, silenced for a moment as he is clearly staring at the Durandal patch, and what he's doing. Of course, you may not necessarily recognize this outside of reading his body language. That is, he's actually doing the mental version of skimming his Rolodex.
Right.
And he says something along the lines of, "Huh, I recognize that name in that patch. Yeah, this is a French ship during the Central Asian War. And for your characters would know this immediately. The Central Asian War, of course, was a conflict that took place. It's 2297 now. This took place in like the 2285, give or take a couple years. Basically the mid 80s.
Right.
So this was like a decade or so ago, which is not a very long time in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
And then Takerson will continue and be like, I don't know specifically this ship. I've heard that the French were definitely doing some stuff with their Aconits. They were basically using the Aconit class frigates as a starting point for a number of different types of ships. That would basically what he goes into is that the French were using the Aconit as a platform, and then they would have a couple of different ships used for different specific roles based on the Aconit, make these large modifications. And by large, what I mean is like almost like take it down to the skeleton of the base class and add new shit to fill that new role, if that makes any sense. And
Oh yeah, no.
Good.
I want to say, yeah. I mean, first off, Hellwig's gonna be kind of cock an eye, and then look over towards Milligan and mouth. He didn't know.
Yeah,
what we were
what
we were doing.
My eyes get big and kind of nod at him.
Oh, it's almost like you guys had a side bet going whether or not you would know.
Yeah.
No, that's funny. I totally spaced that. I think at this point, I think actually Takerson kind of gives you that look. He doesn't say shit. He gives Hellwig a look first, and then he looks over at Milligan. And the look on his face is that parent is like, nah, bitch, I knew. I want to be clear. If you could catch an undertone in that gesture, that undertone is, I don't know what it is I know, but I knew it. Kind of like the parent that's like, I'm not 100% sure, but you know, like as a parent, you know when your kid is up to something. You don't necessarily know what the kid is up to, what specifically, but you know your kid is up to something, and you're riding that motherfucker as hard as you can to get your kid to be like, okay, yeah, I was trying to steal a candy bar.
Yeah. Give it up. What you do, right?
Yep.
And then and then I'll let him explain everything he knows about the whatever.
Oh, you're waiting for Tankerson to explain?
Waiting for Tankerson to finish up his grandiose speech about.
Ultimately, what Tankerson is able to come up with is that he knows about the ship. He knew it did exist. This is indeed like a legit ship. It was. Obviously, it was French military. It was an Aconit-based class ship. It might have been a, not necessarily a cargo ship, but maybe. And he actually kind of stalls, like he's trying to find the right word, and it clicks, and you can almost see the light bulb, right? Like if the light bulb could be a tangible thing at this point, it would have popped right over his head. He's like, it was a courier. It had to have been some sort of courier ship. Carrying shit from one point to another, but not quite, obviously not a cargo ship. This was some sort of courier.
Mail or some crap.
Room for maybe 1 or 2 subcrafts, about 10 people, a little bit of cargo room for trading.
Yeah, like it wasn't like, it was obviously a warship, or at least it was in the fact that it was based on the Aconit, which is a warship. But it was definitely... definitely had some teeth on it, but it wasn't necessarily a frontline combat ship. It had a purpose. I don't know exactly what it was. I'll tell you what, give me a few days, maybe we can find out more information. And when he says we, he's saying it in the way that not just himself, but you guys as well can do a little bit more research and ask around and things of that nature. and see what more you can find.
Okay. And then so at that point, I kind of also mentioned that we did ask around about the piracy thing and some other stuff like that, and just like we didn't get far, but if we have to go back, we may have to consider checking in with those people if you have connections. If you have connections, let's talk about that.
When you say those people, which people specifically?
And Bigger and Tankerson just kind of looked at me like that. I'm by those people, I mean like the security forces,
The local security, like the French and British.
local, yeah,
Okay.
because piracy is a bad thing, and I don't want to go on a ship with no weapons and no nothing and go chasing down something that we should desperately have. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's talk equipment. And I want to point out, he specifically hones in on equipment as opposed to actively directly addressing your question, right? He does that thing that some bosses do or some parents do, where they grab that one nugget, and instead of dealing with the entire rock, they deal with that one face. And so he says, okay, let's talk about equipment. What kind of equipment are you looking for here?
Some kind of big fucking gun.
The biggest scam gun. But
and Helvig kind of looks at him and says, "Yeah, BFGs sound good, but secure space lane information, good codes, the stuff to kind of keep us safe, and who to cry wolf to. I mean, call for help."
All right. Well, I'll see what I can do. I can't, obviously promise anything right off the bat. And then for like the briefest moment, he looks at you with that. I mean, other than the fact I gave you a name that's going to give you some happy meds to feel better about flying in space.
Yeah.
And then I think he corrects himself a little bit. He's like, actually, I was legit asking, like, what kind of equipment do you think you might need, so I can start putting some feelers out, because it's your team that's going to need. He's actually going to use the word armored spacesuits, right? Even though there's probably a more definitive, specific term for, a vacuum suit that has a military grade battle armor, not battle armor. Where
Oh
I'm
yeah,
going with this.
but the security force level of
yeah,
vac suits with able to withstand bullets.
yeah, and then, and then he's like, you know what? I'll tell you what. Here, put a list together. We'll take a look at it tomorrow sometime. How's that?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
For the table. And he says this. This is him in character. For the table. As he looks at everybody there. Because obviously this meeting included literally everybody that came with you guys from the Wayfinder. Is there anything else that we need to discuss, get into? Because it looks like, if not, you're free to go, do whatever you want to do. And then your next big task is find out more about this Durandal so we can figure out where to go and maybe dig it up out of a planet somewhere or something.
Well, I mean, the Pinnipod did tell me, if I wanted to learn more about it, to come and see them on Grendel.
So you want to go
Did
to
it really
Grendel?
say that?
No, I don't want to. But
so the Pinnipod did say, if you are ever back this way, look me up and maybe we can have some more trade. Now, I paraphrased what he would have said because, of course, Pinnipod, multiple mouths, they don't always use the same word at the same time, so it sounds really weird, and there's like an echo thing, and also Pinnipods are a little on the creepy side. But, that was effectively what he said.
Okay.
All right, okay, so he didn't actually explicitly say he had more information, just that we could trade more.
Correct.
All right, fine.
And it was also,
might have more
it was also, hey, take this patch. Also, if you happen to come back this way, maybe we can trade for something.
Yeah, okay. So we are gonna go back the way. Make sure we should bring like a whole goddamn cow for him or something.
we
If
just
you
need a
want to
bunch
bring
of
a whole
bodies.
fucking cow, that would be an interesting conversation.
I'm
he
thinking-
wants biomass, right? So that shouldn't really matter what
Well, I mean, that was like
He
2
was-
weeks or a week or so ago. Now he might want something totally different. I don't know. I'm
Well, I
playing
got
devil's
pilot.
advocate.
I got biomass. That's all I got, dude. What more do you want?
By the way, Wiggles, 2 sick gaming desktops with ultra wide monitors. Sick.
That's
Put me down for
vital.
one.
That's vital for salvaging operations.
Yeah, for salvaging. Yeah, yeah. For
if
salvaging.
if we're gonna go to Grendel, I'm sure there's all sorts of equipment we're gonna need.
Well, there's nothing
but
saying
that's-
that you're going to Grendel just yet.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That was Tankerson saying that, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, for all we know, this thing could be in a whole ass other system. I may need to get my God damn it. He has another ship. I want to say the Jolly Iron or Iron Jollies or something is the name of it.
Iron Jollies.
So he has a ship, right? And so when I rolled him up as a character, because this is what I usually do with NPCs, I treat them just like characters on paper, especially if it's somebody important. He spent a number of years as a merchant, and then his last 2 terms as a journalist. Well, one of the things he got when he left the merchants was he actually rolled a courier ship, I think, like 3 times, as well as a bunch of money and stuff like that. So he actually has a Thorez class courier that is his, other than the fact he still has a few payments left on it, I think. Or maybe he got all 4. Because in the books, it says every time you get a ship, it counts as 25% of the mortgage that has been paid off. So if you get it multiple times, you have more of the mortgage paid off. And so he's got either a completely paid off or almost paid off Thorez. And so now that ship is part of his company property. And so that's the Thorez that runs back and forth doing the main cargo runs. And so when you're talking about potentially going to not just Grendel, but even further afield to other star systems, it's like, shit, I might need to get my Thorez guys in here. But he wouldn't say Thorez, he would use the actual name of the ship. But he'd be like, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to get my crew in here to run you guys out there. And fuck, that means I'm going to have to pay them extra because they're not going to be making money running cargo.
We could run cargo, and I point over at Wyatt. I put over at Wyatt.
And then fucking Tankerson just kind of looks at me like, on what? Your back?
I point over at Wyatt and I say, "Cargo man, he make many trade. We could make trade on the way out to wherever this thing is."
Oh, I see your point. I see.
Trade during the. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, no, I mean, yeah, sure. That's something we could totally do if it, we had to discuss remuneration between us and us and them and whatever. But yeah, no, that's something totally doable.
Well, I think this particular clause here, and he starts scrolling through the contract again to the part where there's I'm going to use some gaming terms here, but like references to speculative trade where 25% of the profit, and then in parentheses next to that, open to further negotiation. 25% of the profit goes back to the patron, which, if you refer back to the first few paragraphs of the contract, the patron is identified as Iron Mike Tankerson and is referred to as the patron throughout the rest of this document. That paragraph. Because I'm always amused by that. Here in and after, further referred to as such and such. Anyway, I think what we need to do here is, do you guys want to spend a few more days maybe looking around, doing some more research, digging and asking questions and things like that to see if you can figure out where this ship is, or you want to try something different?
I'm game for whatever the other guys want to do. Barbie says let's see what we can do for more research and see what other shenanigans we can get into while we're still land based.
The Milligan patented flirting method. Hey, check out this patch. I'm sorry.
Did you see me on TV?
Oh, that would be epic.
As seen on TV with this patch.
Yeah. I'm gonna get some fangirl somewhere. I'm just gonna be walking through some station.
Hey, check out this patch. Do I look familiar?
As far
by
as
the
us
way?
looking for more information,
Yeah.
at this point, Milligan's fairly convinced that ship is on Grindel because he doesn't think that the Pentapods would have thought even to hand this to him, although he doesn't know how they think, if it wasn't something they had recently come across. Like, I don't think they would have found this patch on some other planet and felt the need to give it to me.
Yeah, like
because it
why
wouldn't
would
have
they
made
take
any
it?
sense. Right.
Yeah,
So-
effectively he's saying like, why would they take it from I don't know Bessier to
Right.
Beowulf and then give it to us?
Right. So
Yeah.
I am already fairly confident that whatever condition I mean, it can't be in very good condition. Number one, just spending time on Grindel, it wouldn't be good for it.
I mean, no matter where
and-
it is, assuming the
Right.
last time it was active was like in the range of 10
Right.
years or so ago.
Yeah. And I
It's
doubt
like-
somebody just touched it down there perfectly and
Yeah,
then walked
it was
away.
It was a
So,
butter landing
yeah.
like the great pilot Joseph fucking Milligan. There you go. I used the word butter
So-
today. I'm good.
That's right. So anyway, but I mean, if Tankersley says go do more research, we go do more research because he's paying us. So
Yeah, so at
That's
this
the way I
point,
see it.
what we were looking at is so team members, which at this point is all the NPCs, each of them will get 2,000 a month. Team leads, which is Helwig and Milligan, will receive 3,000 a month.
4,000.
Sorry, 4,000 a month, and then
Oh.
Wyatt, Mister, will
Already
receive.
trying to shortchange you.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I mean. That's how corporate bigwigs do it, right? They try to squeeze every penny out they can. And then Mr. Wyatt will receive 6,000 a month, and that's the bare minimum. Obviously, when you have missions and other things like that come up, they'll receive some of that income as well. Now, you're gonna go off and do a little more research, eh?
Yeah. Does he have any suggestions? Because we've already checked some pretty major places.
Well, so Tankerson actually looks at you for a moment when you say that, and he says, kind of a silly thought, but what about you said you think you let me back up a little bit and get my brain to work right. You can blame the alcohol now. I had to throw it out there before he did. I take his power when I do that. So Tankerson will look at Milligan and he says, "You think it's on Grendel, and you're making some actually pretty solid arguments as far as I'm concerned. That that it's there on that planet. Why don't you go talk to the resident subject expert? What's his face? The dude with the weird accent, Professor
Grimaldi?
Yeah, Grimaldi. I was trying to find a way for Tankerson to misname him, just because it's a weird name and he has that weird accent. Why don't you go up to the university and talk to him and see what maybe he knows something. Maybe he can at least connect a couple of dots between the pentapods and you having a patch in your hand.
Go talk to Crazy Doctor.
No.
No, that's Struer. And
Yeah.
Tankerson will actually look at Helwig and be like, no, that was the other guy, Jason something or other.
Okay.
Stewart?
He was very from what Miss Blaine told me, he was crazier than a van full of monkeys.
Yeah, no, my wife. You said yeah, he said he's racist, right? Yeah, doesn't like pentapods. Yeah, no, I mean,
Racist? I don't. Maybe just paranoid. I don't know. Listen,
Xenophobic?
what she was
go to the
telling me
university.
is
I think at this point,
thought-
Tankerson's like, he grabs one of the subs, right? So he's got like this chicken club or turkey club 6-inch, right? I'm sorry, it would be, what is that, like 8 centimeters or something?
Right.
He grabs this sub, and he just starts taking a bite and threw a mouthful of food. All right, listen, go talk to the university people, figure out what you can figure out. Let's stop talking shop. Let's eat. Let's have a couple of drinks. Let's fucking unwind. It's goddamn Friday night. And that's the GM's way of ending that scene.
Yep.
By the way.
oh no, I don't know how to end this scene. Ah!
All right, so what we've accomplished at this point, of course, is we have the beginnings of contracts being filled out and whatnot. People being slotted into different positions. Your party, which is the 3 players and a bunch of NPCs, are a special projects group. We have Wyatt George as the team lead, and then we have Hellwig as the direct action lead, and Milligan as the support group lead. We are going to go talk to some people at the university to get more information. And initially, I'm kind of summarizing a little bit. Initially, other than the people you've already talked to, who at this point you're starting to make some, you're starting to get some, God damn it, what's the word I'm looking for here? You're starting to get some of the same information over and over again. You're basically getting repeat results.
Right.
When you talk to Grimaldi initially, and maybe it takes a couple of days because he's busy doing professor stuff and finishing up paperwork from the Llewellyn station being shut down for the next several months. Maybe it takes a few days before you actually get a chance to talk to him. And at first he's like, "Yeah, I remember when Milligan, I remember when the Pentapod gave him that patch. I don't know anything. I can ask around. I can't guarantee anything because I'm not always in the up and up, especially when it's anything military. You know how it is. The military versus academics. They call us nerds and they don't let us play football with them. But I'll see what I can do. And of course, he's got this. I have to say this for the viewers because I'm sure my players remember. He's got this weird Italian Scottish accent. I have no idea what that would sound like. I tried actually picturing that earlier today because I knew I was going to mention it, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, does he roll his R's completely randomly and then not roll his R's otherwise? I don't know. A few days
Now
go
all
by.
I'm thinking about is Elmer Fudd.
Jeez, that's weird.
So while we're at the college, Wyatt is gonna go see if he can talk to someone who like their like alien sociology department.
Oh,
And
somebody in
see,
the
Xenobiology or something like
xenosciences. I'm gonna leave it at that because that's really open ended.
yeah, and like
Xeno. Oh God.
Biologist.
Xenosociology.
yeah, that sounds good. And I'm just gonna like see if I can talk to like a professor or undergrad or whatever who's currently sending petapods and like, hey, I'm gonna need to talk to one soon. And they were asking for trades of biomass. I was like, hey, can I get like a crash course or pointers of how to
What the fuck is going on?
deal with them? Can I just give them a cow? Would that be rude? Is that like?
Did I offend some Pentapod god if I make an offering of a cow?
They were asking specifically for bodies, for cadavers.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
And so.
And I don't know if that makes a difference or not. I realize they're a biomass using race.
Well, they do
but
a
I don't
lot
know
of
if,
bio things, and
Right.
there's a lot of bioengineering.
So I don't know if they wanted cadavers for a particular reason, but that's unsettling.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we as human beings eat dead animals.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you want to boil all the bullshit out of it, we eat dead cadavers. We eat carcasses. Right? The fact that we throw it over a fire for a little while first is a different animal. Okay, there was a pun there and I didn't mean it, but you get the idea. For the pentapods, they're taking a cadaver. Who knows what they're going to do? But my point is that biomass is going to be consumed in some way, shape, or form. Now, for human beings and basically every animal on this planet, we consume biomass as part of our energy production in order to stay alive. It is arguable, and this is my understanding of the scenario of the little bit I've read into it, and I do not understand pentapods nearly as well as I do humans, and I hate humans, so you can figure that out. I think what the pentapod was looking for was the biomass in order to use it for one of their, I'm going to say, bioengineering projects. I don't know if that, I'm not trying to imply anything. This is not GM trying to give a clue. Like, I think what they were trying to do was use those cadavers as some sort of biomass fuel for some sort of biomass engineering thing. I have no idea. It is weird. Maybe that was the whole reason why it was put in there. Let's have this weird alien ask for dead bodies every 7 hours as a red fucking herring. Why not? To answer the question of what was this pentapod going for, and if I bring in a cow, would that be sufficient, or is that bad news? I think what you get is this generic, not so much generic, but you get kind of a wide range answer of human understanding of the pentapod race is minimal at best. We have found that, generally speaking, when it comes to pentapod and human interaction, they like to trade. The idea of what is valuable, insofar as, the two parts of the trade must be equal value or close, can change based on what the individual's goals are. So today, trading a rock for a piece of wood might be okay, but tomorrow I don't need wood, I need sand. So that same trade wouldn't be the same value. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it? I hope I'm not rambling a lot there.
So like
That makes
there's something
sense.
I can actually bring that would be currency in an exchange.
I'm
Like
sure
it's
the
just a crap
pentapod,
shot.
yeah, I'm sure the pentapod nations, I don't know if that's even really the right word, but I'm sure amongst themselves there's some sort of currency or some sort of barter and trade. It's just that there's no good solid rule set or structure that we can understand at this point in time. Your best bet would be to find out what they want and find something that you can receive of moderately equivalent value, and you might be able to affect a trade.
Okay. Hey, you want to see a pentapod?
You're asking the teacher or whoever you're talking to?
Yeah.
I feel like, so I'm not gonna lie to you, I, the GM, feel like the teacher would absolutely be like, yes, please, until about the point where you're like, well, it's on that planet over there, and the teacher's gonna be like, no. Further, I, the GM, do not have anything prepped for that sort of angle. So the answer you're gonna get may or may not help you, but I will say this: the teacher's like, absolutely, I would love to interact with a pentapod.
So the reason why I'm asking this question is that I met one recently on Grindel when I was doing when my company was doing a cruise transfer off of the research station there, and there's a pentapod there just hanging
Serious?
out. Yeah, no, and it was asking for biomass. And due to another job we're working on, we feel one of our best leads is to interview this pentapod, and I'm mostly stuck around Seoul, did a little bit of Chinese yarn, a little bit of French yarn. Haven't really interacted with a lot of pentapods. Haven't really been that far out.
Well, they're not commonly interacting with humanity as a whole. It's kind of a hit and miss, sporadic sort of thing.
But yeah, so just we were just finding ourselves out of our depths with interacting with one.
You know what? When do when do you think you'll be going back up there to talk to them?
Soon, probably next, probably within the week, somewhere around there.
So soon. I'm gonna have to
Come on,
I'm gonna have to come up with a name for this teacher, aren't I? You son of a bitch! How dare you make me create NPCs on the spot?
Yeah, just take a sabbatical, a research trip.
Well,
You could probably even
that's where I'm going
pay
with this.
for
I'm
it.
trying to figure out, like, this teacher's like, I feel like this teacher is probably chomping at the bit, right? But also is suddenly reminded of like half a dozen different adult responsibility things that she can't just shuffle off to somebody else, right? So she's trying to figure out how to make this work, and the response you get is she's sitting there and she's like, I'm gonna have to talk to my department head.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find a substitute.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to find someone to watch my sister's kids.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't know if I can do this. And I don't know if I can do this on this kind of timetable. I hear you laughing, Thurgor.
I said, fuck them kids.
Right? Fuck them kids. I'm gonna go meet an alien.
I mean, I get that. I understand that. Look, here are my contact details.
Okay.
I'll try to keep you in the loop about our ETA. We don't particularly have like a hard timetable, but you know how it is. We're not also being paid to sit around either.
Yeah, right. No, I get it. You need you don't know exactly when it's going to be, but it's going to be soon. You don't have anything solid yet.
Yeah, no, we're trying to tie up some loose ends on Beowulf first before we go talk to the Pentapod again, because Grundle's moving away. It's going to be a pain in the ass to match the velocities with it, so
Right.
we're going to do that last.
Just give me a random name generator that doesn't make me have to choose country first. Jesus Christ.
Martha Phillips.
Martha Phillips. Fuck it. There it is.
Uh,
Martha fucking
Jack
Phillips.
Daniels.
No, it's Jackie Daniels. It'll be Jackie Smith Daniels with a hyphen. Fuck you. That I just made that. Jackie Smith hyphen Daniels. Fuck off.
That's lore now.
It is. It is. Jackie, I'm gonna write this shit down. Otherwise, I am gonna forget it. Jackie Smith with a YTHE. By the way, Daniels. That's her fucking name. Okay. Yeah. No.
But everybody calls her Hennessy.
Jesus Christ. No, they call her Jamie. Or Jim
Oh.
Beam. Or Jim Beam, I should say. Yeah, no, she'll take your contact info, and in fact, she does like nothing else in that moment. She takes your contact info and makes sure it goes directly into her link immediately. And she there's no hesitation. You could tell body language and everything. Like she is actually kind of psyched about this, and you can almost picture the wheels turning in her head and how she's going to be able to work this out on such short notice. And she's like, "Fuck it, if I can go, I'm going. Fuck all this."
Yeah, no, and I know I just gave you a fucking shit ton to do, but if you got any ideas what to bring in order to trade with this Pentapod, let me know, because I gotta tell you, I'm grasping at straws.
No, I will ask around in the in the little bit of time I've got, see what I can figure out. I think the biggest philosophy a lot of people have used, and when I say a lot of people, ultimately it's really only been a few. But when it comes time to make a trade with a Pentapod, an open cold trade, I should say, it's usually just figuring out what they want and trying to find something that you already have on hand of equivalent value, whether it be, it could be a wrench, but the answer could be 100 wrenches. And then she might even go into this, not necessarily lengthy explanation of a particular scenario, but she comes up with an example of where somebody had to give up 10,000 Q-tips because that was all they had in storage at the time.
Yeah, so we should bring a 3D printer and a couple 100 pounds of feedstock or something.
That might not be a bad idea, actually. Do you have a fabricator that you can bring with?
This is going to be a weird mission. We're going to have a weird requisition list.
Why did you ask for 10,000 extra fluffy marshmallows?
Look, do you want the job done or not? Are you paying us to answer these questions? You're paying us to get it done.
That makes me think of that moment in the core. Is it the core? With Hilary Swank as an astronaut, but she ends up being on part of the team that goes to the core of the planet because the core stopped spinning. I think it's the core. Mm-hmm. And they got that one skinny dude. I cannot think of his name. I'm horrible at remembering actors' names. The one skinny dude who's basically the super hacker, and he's like, if you want me to do this, I need something, and an unlimited supply of Hot Pockets.
That are the first Galaxies of the Galaxy, or the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
That guy's leg?
Rocket's yeah, and that guy's what do you need the leg for? Nothing. I just wanted to see if you can go get it.
I thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Was jumping around?
Yeah. Okay.
10,000 marshmallows. It's obviously for s'mores night. I mean.
Yeah, obviously. But who's gonna have s'mores night on a planet that you can't breathe on, and it's fucking dead ass winter? It's not even dead ass winter. It's super winter.
That's what reaction drives are for.
Right. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna lead with. I'm going to summarize the last little bit because we're getting close to the end, and we're not going to be able to get too much further anyway. So you spent a few days interacting with various people at the university. Maybe you chased down a couple of leads somewhere else in the city. Long story short, after about 3 or 4 more days, towards the end of this 2-week stretch, you receive a message from Professor Grimaldi, or Dr. Grimaldi, I should say, really. And this is the message. That shoulder patch. I discovered where it comes from. We need to talk. Somewhere public. Dragon's Tooth, North Side 50 Atria, at 6 p.m. standard on such and such day. I want to point out something small. I want to point something out. The planet Beowulf, as noted in the handout section of our Discord, has something like 500 hours of. Let me rephrase that. It takes about 520 something hours to rotate through one full local day, spin on its axis. The local population counts time in hours from the last sunrise, and the time that Dr. Grimaldi gives you is actually meet me at 210 hour. This is, when converted into a 24-hour time system, it is 6 p.m. on something like the 8th day or some shit since sunrise. An Atria, if you recall, if you have read it, an Atria is basically these overarching domes that are scattered throughout the city of Aliceport. And what they do is they provide shade and allow for some temperature, or climate control. Otherwise, you would have days upon days of light and then days upon days of dark. And no no Terran or Earth-based vegetation, or even animal for that matter, would be able to survive for long. So what they did as part of the colonization and building up of Beowulf is they constructed these domes that are let me see. Basically these arched glass domes that light can go through during the day. They could darken the glass like in sections and stuff like that, so they can control how much light's coming through, how much and provide shade and stuff like that. And then obviously they can also light up at night so that they can actually kind of sort of simulate something closer to a 24-hour cycle. Regardless of simulating that 24-hour cycle or not, they still count hours from the most recent sunrise. So it's kind of a weird sort of deal, but it is what it is. When you go to different alien planets, you got to figure out how to get along with whatever is there, which includes how long it takes that planet to spin around or float around something. He says to come to you, to meet up at the Dragon's Tooth, which is the name of a restaurant, in the North Side 50 Atria, which is a particular section of the city. And the Dragon's Tooth is a open-air restaurant. And when you arrive at the predisposed time, the good doctor will be waiting for you, sitting at a table, drinking what appears to be an expensive-looking cup of coffee. And as you arrive, a robot on wheels will roll up next to y'all. And now to be fair, this robot that rolls up on you is made up to look like a waiter. Waiter, not... I almost said waitress at the same time as I was trying to say waiter. That's why it came out sounding weird. Anyway, you have a waiter coming up to you, but it's a robot with wheels instead of legs. And it's asking you for your order. Pops his head lick a tick?
Egg a tick. Sorry, like a tick, like an assassination droid.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I was like, what
Really?
the hell?
Don't feed him ideas.
Yeah, oh, don't worry, it's gonna get better. Here is your homework. No, I won't say that. Let's do this. What are you guys bringing to this meeting?
Who all's going for
That's
That's a
starters?
great question. That's the one I should have led with. Who all is going
Uh,
to this meeting?
Well, the only person you ever had to talk to was Milligan, so I guess Milligan and Alicia.
Well, everybody. Let me rephrase that. Not everybody got that message because the doctor wouldn't have had everybody's link info, but definitely Milligan's. He probably has or could easily get, considering Milligan was effectively the team lead on the rescue run. Few credits. Milligan, Wyatt misses. The 3 Knucklehead Marines. He's probably by now got Tankerson's number, if he hadn't already had it previously for some reason. So those people are getting. So let me ask this question. Let me back up just a smidge and ask this one. Milligan and Mrs. Wyatt, along with a handful of others, randomly determined later, received the message from Dr. Grimaldi about meeting at the Dragon's Tooth later this evening. Who all gets to find out about this invitation and who all is going? I will let the 3 of you decide that now.
Well, not Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
I would definitely fill Hellwig in.
Well,
right.
I think at this point, Hellwig would at the very least know who Dr. Grimaldi is.
Right.
Right.
We've talked about him enough. Yeah, I mean, do we really all need to go in there? I don't know.
No, I think it should just be the 3 core of us, and then maybe Wyatt's wife,
I wouldn't
just so
want to
we
risk.
can.
I wouldn't want to risk her like that.
Aww.
I mean, not that anything bad's gonna happen, but still, I mean, she is the chief engineer.
Like, do we need her? Wait, hold on. If you're not risking her, are you trying to put her back in a box or something? I'm sorry. I just want to make that joke. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Nobody puts baby in a box.
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I was having to
Yeah.
morph it a little bit. The other one was put the bunny back in the box.
There you go. What's in the box? What's in the box?
I don't know. This whole public thing's weird. It makes my.
I mean, it would be a standard thing for an informant to meet like that. Just saying.
Yeah. Huh.
So I would go. I think we should just be the 3 of us. Like I said, maybe Wyatt's wife, just to keep, because she's our super engineer.
I'll tell you what. How about we send Blaine and the knuckleheads ahead of us?
Okay.
Let them get there half an hour before us or whatever. So we at least have some backup. Now, we talked about law level a little bit previously, and I think it was that even long arms were okay. Is that right?
Let me look in the handouts.
Okay.
Because I don't recall specifically off the top of my head, so I gotta look at the Beowulf Planet data shit. You guys. Now, mind you, this information the information I did send you, by the way, was from first edition Mongoose. So some things may have changed, but usually not too terribly much. Come on, give me your UPP. All right. 86777777775B.
Everything but nukes.
I don't know. I'm assuming 7 is the answer to the law. I don't know how to read a UWP like at sight like that, but 7 is the law level. So that means probably.
That's pretty high.
Well, I do remember reading somewhere regarding Beowulf that. Shit, I think I just closed my. Fuck. I do remember reading somewhere that the on the planet, like in the city, carrying a firearm is not frowned on, or like a sidearm or a small piece. But going outside, if you don't go with a rifle, you're stupid. But now I'm wondering if I actually got that from something else.
That's okay.
So pistols and everything are fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm actually about to look it up because I want to make sure I got this right.
Okay.
Give me just a moment to
I'm
open
looking.
up
I'm looking at the.
Let me open up my
That's
core
just
book one more time.
the
That I think I
UCP
just closed by
stuff, yeah.
mistake.
I don't know.
Come on, law level 7.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Law level is. What's the difference in UPP and UNP?
One is
and
nation,
UCP?
and one is nation, and one is like planet.
Planetary. Okay, so the law level is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 7th value
Which
in a
was
UPP.
7.
Yeah. Okay.
Law level 7. Shotguns are banned. But
dumb.
underneath that is oh no. So bladed weapons, stunners. Hold on. How do I read this? I'm looking in the core book. No restriction. Oh, the higher the number, the more things that are banned.
Yeah.
Right.
So if 7 is the law level, that means shotguns, all firearms, personal concealable weapons, light assault weapons, submachine guns. So basically, if you want to bring shit, you might want to keep it concealed. Same thing with armor, because, well, with armor, it looks like, short of coming in full combat gear, if you can keep it out of sight, you're not going to have a problem. That's what it looks like from what I can read up.
Okay. So if we
But
have a
also, if you're
concealed
coming in with
weapon,
that much armor, like, what the hell's wrong with you, man?
right? If we have a concealed weapon and for whatever reason we need to use it, are we then in trouble for having a concealed weapon?
Yeah. So the way the law level works is that if it's since it's a 7, takes that and then goes all the way down to 0. So shotguns are banned. Basically, all firearms are banned. Military grade weapons are banned. Submachine guns are banned, and explosives and concealable weapons are banned.
So then you can get away with carrying around as a blade.
Wait a minute. 1,
Yeah,
2, 3,
yeah,
4, 5, 6, 7. I'm looking at the UPP chart right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And for Alicia on Queen Alice's star, that 7 digit is a 5.
So are you talking
Not a 7.
Alice Port?
Well, the only thing I have listed here is under Britain on Queen Alice's star is Alicia.
Okay, so I think Alicia is, I believe, a continent. I don't have the map open in front of me or anything, but okay. So basically, for the British side of the planet, at least, it's a 5, which means effectively sidearms and shotguns are okay. But then you get into like semi-auto and shit like that, or I mean, SMGs and whatever that are not. Am I reading that right? Or am I remembering that off the top of my head right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Well,
so
I'll take my fabricator special with me.
Did you take that from Struer?
Heck yeah, I took that. I took that. I stripped it right out of his hand.
And I never did specify what that pistol was. I'm gonna have to figure that out.
We talked about it, and you said it was just a small, like semi-auto, whatever. And I said something
it's
about
written somewhere what kind of pistol it is, so I want to look it up.
Okay.
And if it has stats, I'll let you know.
Okay.
If it doesn't, we'll just go with like basic pistol 101.
Well, like the chip trailer, the M57 or whatever. That's a very standard, small kind of
that sort of thing.
sidearm.
That sort of thing.
Yep.
All right. So what's the plan?
All right, we meet her. We pull the gun underneath the table. Tell her to spill our guts, or we'll shoot.
What?
No,
it's her.
Sorry, him. The Grindel doctor.
Grindel
No.
doctor.
The Scottish Italian.
Scottish Italian. Yeah, Grimaldi. Yeah, I think he would. I don't think that would have to be too much effort. I think he would. You don't even have to pull him under the table. Just put a gun at him. He'll probably shit himself.
We're not gonna leave the gun and take the cannoli here, okay? We're just gonna. All we're gonna do is go meet him, And since it's gonna be a public place, we'll just make sure that we keep ourselves away from any obvious sight lines and get what we need to from them.
Does
So
anybody
what are
want
the
to do a
Oh.
groups?
quick link search and see what kind of restaurant this Dragon's Tooth is?
Sure.
I don't know. Sounds Italian.
So one of its
Why not?
Okay, so yeah, basic fare, nothing special in the menu. Pretty much anything you can get at most restaurants, it's one of its primary selling features or selling points for a customer base is that outside of the public restroom, the restaurants, restrooms, and the staff changing areas, it is all open air, the entire place, including the kitchens, the bar, the seating area. It's all open air.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with your
Okay.
sightlines, go fuck yourself. I'm not,
Alright.
I'm not even making that up, by the way. My material that I'm sourcing this from actually describes it as open air. I just thought it was funny when you're like,
Right.
stay away from sightlines. I'm like, it's open air. You're fucked.
All right.
Sorry, Joe. I was like, I had to do that one. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You got Wyatt. You got Milligan. You might as well get me this time. So with that, I just I'm gonna I assume that with our patron now we have access to cars, and I just go call for a car to be delivered so we can drive ourselves over there, unless there's public transportation of some sort.
You've got public transportation all over the city. The
Okay.
problem with you guys living, I said outside the city. I'm thinking like sometimes those suburbs.
Yeah.
But even then, typically they have some sort of link to the local, the main city local public transit. So effectively, getting around town is not going to be hard at all using a public system. The worst case, you might have to wait, an extra 20 minutes or something like that. But also, Takerson hasn't given you guys a vehicle, but there are a couple vehicles available. Like one part of one wing is the garage, and there's a couple of cars in there that I feel like if you were to ask him, Takerson, she'd be like, "Yeah, take the keys. Make sure you leave gas in it."
Right.
Kind of scenario.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll take a car over there, not because we don't trust public transportation, but kind of get us there quicker.
Well, and this is my personal thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather drive myself than be driven there because I can leave whenever I want.
Exactly. Yeah. We're not trying to wait at a station for something.
We'll send the knuckleheads ahead on public transportation, so
There
they
you go.
get there the same way we do. Have them
Right,
message
right,
us
yeah.
when they've been there, as soon as they get there, so that we can time getting there about half an hour later and just kind of go from there.
Also, they don't
Yep.
deserve cars.
What'd you say?
Also, they don't deserve cars. Public
Oh.
transportation for them.
Blaine
nice.
Blaine might rate a car. Spearman and Io, not so much. I'll agree with that. Okay. So what are you guys bringing? Like you said,
I guess we're bringing one gun, a laptop. I don't know. We'll bring I'll bring $5,000 in cash in case that comes up.
I'm just gonna bring myself. There's no point bringing weapons. I can't. I'm not trained any melee weapons, so I'll just leave my stuff behind and.
You can bring pistols and shotguns.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then I'll bring one of my.
Yeah, for the record, we determined the British colony side of the planet, at the very least, is law level 5. So you can bring a sidearm and shotgun, like rifles, SMGs, stuff like that. That's gonna be no bueno, legally speaking.
Okay.
I can't bring Betty.
Your SVD.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring my I'm gonna just bring my pistol, which is the that Model 6 pistol. So and just leave it kind of in my jacket. As best.
And your jacket, if I remember right, doesn't your jacket have like an extra layer of like actual armor in it?
Yeah.
Like
it's an armored jacket,
like
and then I have a protective vest as armor.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah. So
Milligan, what are you bringing?
I'm gonna bring my mystery pistol, because
It's
it's the
almost like
only
mystery meat, but it shoots.
uh-huh. Other than my naval cutlass, that's the only sidearm that I have.
That's funny that you have a naval cutlass, dude. I would be totally rocking that shit until I hurt
I
myself.
think I'm
with it.
going to this time. I think
No,
I'm
I'm
going to
talking
wear
like
that
real
to the
life. Like if I
restaurant.
had a sword and I was in this
Uh-huh.
kind of scenario, like I would be bringing that motherfucker every goddamn time I had to go somewhere until I hurt myself with it. At which point I probably wouldn't be able to go very far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's probably appropriate for me to be in my armored vac suit in the middle of
No,
the
that would
city. So,
well, it's entirely
uh,
visible, so you would definitely be getting questioned by the first cop that saw you
yeah.
and several others.
That would just look weird.
It would really look weird. You'd definitely stand out like a sore thumb.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you get there. The wheelie bot waiter droid takes your order. You can order whatever you want. You know, probably a drink, maybe some food. I don't know. Your three knuckleheads that you sent ahead, they reported back. Obviously, you know everything's fine. No biggie. Uh, as the let me pull up my notes. As the robot leaves to go turn in or complete your order, Grimaldi will be like, "Hey, so good to see you guys. I know what the Durandal is, and I think I know where we can find it.
Is it a ship?
It is a ship. It is indeed a
Oh,
ship.
awesome. All right, good for me. I knew it was a ship. All right, cool.
It actually, he's got a bit more notes. It actually looks an awful lot like an Aconit. And then at that very moment, Milligan, your brand new eyeball goes black. You can't see shit out of it.
Oh dear lord.
Okay.
All power.
Should ask for the extended warranty.
Yeah. All power in the restaurant suddenly fails. All personal consumer grade electronics fail. So not just internal, like I believe Hellwig has some cybernetic shit as well.
Yeah, I have a computer, so my computer just dumped on itself.
Yes, it did.
It lost your score in Snake.
Yeah, that our 2300 version of Halo.
His kill streak is just fucking gone. um, so all power in the restaurant suddenly goes out. All personal consumer grade electronics fail. The 4 serving robots, all over, spread out across the the restaurant. They all start going crazy. Like, one spinning in circles, one is just running into a wall, one just falls over. Non-military cybernetics of any sort will stop working, and biocontacts go black for 1d6 minutes. And I believe that biocontact falls under what you just got installed on your dome, Milligan.
Now, the biocontacts are the Penapod products, so for whatever reason,
Gotcha. Okay.
an EMP affects those too, which that's news to me. That didn't used to be the case, but
Well,
that's cool. This is
again,
obviously an EMP
I just
attack.
want to point out once more, my source is first edition material, so there may have been some slight changes that I didn't quite catch. However,
So,
at this point, coming from one end of the restaurant, from what appears to be something of a corn garden. Let me back. No, fuck it. Too late now. Well, yes, it's like this little plot, right? Maybe it's a couple feet on a side, and by a couple I mean like 5 to 10 feet on a side. And it's got a bunch of corn stalks in it. Coming from the direction of this corn garden towards your general direction is a 5-man team moving tactically, wearing what appears to be. Let me find it. It is listed as inertial armor vests, and they are
Ooh.
each armed with NP-67s. And if you didn't know any better, their arms appear to be cybernetic.
I'm just gonna scream guns, 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 and then
I'm sorry. I was
flip,
totally expecting you to
flip
go.
the table.
I'm sorry. Please
Yep.
continue. Don't let me talk.
Yeah, I'm gonna go scream guns, 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 and then flip the table, and then pull the doctor behind the table with me and draw my weapon, and then shout that they have bad guys, and I'm start pointing in a direction.
All right.
And I assume that's going to be seen because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. That's definitely a see because we gotta wrap this up. We're just past 10 now. So yeah, the last thing that happens is Hellwig reacting tactically to the advance of this 5-man team that looks like they can rip you guys apart pretty easily. Cliffhanger? Anybody?
Dun dun dun.
Oh, Wiggles, you're at the top. Let's start with you for feedback and closeout.
A lot of groundwork got set up. You know, you got to build the scaffolding to continue on with the story, and that's what this episode was.
Yeah. Yep. This is. I actually had at one point thought about naming it something along the lines of intermission or interlude to imply that this is going to be more story than story. Like this is going to be, no major events. It's just going to be like, how do we fill in this gap? Transition from one point to another.
No, that's my feedback.
Alrighty, Charles, what do you got? Feedback, close out.
I didn't know it was sweeps week. If you get that joke,
I'm trying to figure out where you're going with that. I'm sure you'll explain it in a moment.
It's a TV thing about they always have a big cliffhanger during the middle of sweeps week.
Gotcha.
Maximum ratings.
Yeah.
Big character may or may not die. Blah blah blah. Will they get out of the airplane that's underwater and slowly filling up? Dun dun dun.
It's funny. The timing on this is purely coincidental. I promise you.
Right.
But the last episode of Yellowstone that I've caught up to was the final episode of season 3, and one of the last clips you get in the last closing scene before they start rolling credits is literally Casey Dutton, who is at this point the Livestock Association commissioner, in his office hearing gunfire, and the first thing he does is he flips his desk the same way that Hellwig just flipped the table, draws his sidearm and drops down, and I'm like, well, I know exactly what that looks like because I just saw it on TV 2 nights ago.
Right.
Because I'm pulling the same shit on my players right now. Although this isn't a season finale, this is just a transition.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think it was great. The coming back and the trying to chase down the background for this. I think I know where we're going with this based on some background conversations. But this ought to be interesting. And realistically, I wonder where we're gonna go with Tankerson because, like I said, initially I was kind of surprised that he didn't have more knowledge of us doing the investigation before we walked into the contractual meetings.
To be honest, I hadn't even accounted for that myself. So I kind of just rolled with it. I think he's, he's not. How do I phrase this? He's not on the level of like the kingpin. Right. Wilson Fisk. He doesn't have people gathering intel on all sorts of things. Like he's got his one little corner of the universe, and he knows everything about it. But outside of it, he doesn't know shit.
Right.
So if it was something happening on his property or anything that was considered his, he would know about it. But you guys are out there looking around for this missing ship, and you're not being terribly loud about it. You weren't being terribly quiet either. You weren't being terribly loud, so he wouldn't necessarily know about it. He probably may have heard something. Maybe overheard parts of a conversation between one of y'all and someone else, but he wouldn't have really brought it up a whole lot unless somebody came to him, and nobody did. So.
Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm good, and like I said, it'll be interesting to see where the story goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who dies next week.
Yeah. Jinx. And then my only outro is we definitely will call the ambulance for G for Goblin Wiggles.
Does Wiggles have any weapons on him?
No, I didn't bring any.
No. I'm just saying. I'm saying in general for his real life ambulance.
Gotcha. Thurgor, what do you got for closeout and feedback and stuff?
Looks like we're headed the right direction. I do want to say a little something to the viewers here. Tonight, I was able to perform a real life deception check. If you can message me on Discord and tell me where, I might have a prize for you.
I saw that you wrote IRL deception roll, and I don't know what the shit. And I hate this. Like, it's actually kind of bugging me a little bit, especially now that you threw it out there, like boldface throw it out there. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? What deception
He's
shit?
not-
Good.
At this point,
He's
it's
not in
reality.
Alaska.
So, huh?
He's not in Alaska.
Yeah, he's actually right outside my door.
Yeah.
Ah!
Oh man, what else you got?
That's about it. I don't like particularly where I am right this second. I look forward to using my feet next time to take care of that. And because I am a lightweight when it comes to
Yeah, that
gunfight, that's
endurance.
the
And what
big
was
thing.
it? 6?
Oh, that's not the half of it.
Hold on, now I want to know.
My
See.
strength is also 6.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And
You've
my
got
and my dex is 8.
you've got
So
a
my
grand
total.
You got like 24 hit points altogether. It looks like.
Oh, it's 20.
Is it 20? Hold on. 12.
Isn't it
Oh
all
yeah,
three?
yeah. 20. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't count.
Yeah.
Traveler combat is war, not sport. So pretty much everything goes down in 1 or 2 hits.
Yeah, oh,
Yep.
yeah. Just the way it should be.
When a pistol does 3d6, damage, that's 11 damage on average.
Yep. Better have some armor. Although I'm sure the asking, what are you bringing with you, who's going with you, should have clued you into something.
Okay, so there's 2 ways to approach that question, right? So there is definitely the meta way approach it like a game with you, right? You're asking that specifically because it's going to be important. And I, as a player, understand that I've been playing these games for a while.
Yeah.
But it's on the surface of Beowulf. They have a fairly high law level, right? We're not really doing anything clandestine.
Correct.
So there wasn't really any need to be ultra
being all geared up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the most extra I brought with me was $5,000 cash, which might come in handy in another way right now.
No, absolutely. I thought that was actually a cool thing that you did. It was like, I think I'm just gonna bring $5,000 because it could be useful. Don't know what's gonna happen. I thought that was actually a really cool thought because maybe you're gonna have to pay your way out of something, or maybe you just need to pick something up and it costs $5,000.
Often information, costs money. So it's
absolutely.
okay, here you go.
Yep.
Or bail money for the knuckleheads.
Or bail money for the knuckleheads. Yeah, no.
That's also a possibility.
The thing we actually didn't declare is what the hell are the knuckleheads armed with?
See, I asked that at one point, but then it didn't get answered.
Okay.
I think we could default with at least each of them's carrying some sort of sidearm and maybe a jacket similar to what Hellwig's got. Like they're probably you're not gonna. I doubt you're gonna send them out there with much more than that for a meeting at a public restaurant on a otherwise safe world.
Right.
And obviously you're not gonna send them out there in full combat gear because that would 1 be illegal and 2 they would stand out and be questioned by literally every cop that got in the way. So.
Well, maybe we'd have some more cops here with us right now then.
I mean, you're in a. Alisport's not a small city. It's not a big city, but it's a city with a starport. So there's definitely going to be local security or local police or something like that. So, on one hand, this sounds like you've got a 5-man death team coming at you, and you guys are barely armed for, a shootout with 1 or 2 people, let alone 5. But also, theoretically, the cops should be there pretty quick. One would hope. Of course, you're also disabled briefly because of the electromagnetic bullshit.
I do have to make a comment about that.
Yeah.
In my character generation with you, my neural bridge was part of my naval hardware package. And so it is tech level 12. All the rest of it's 11, but that one item you gave me at tech level 12.
Okay.
So that's a military neural bridge.
So and so
Yeah, just the bridge part. So I
Yeah.
still get my bonuses as far as that goes, but my computer would have shut down
Yeah. And
beyond that. Yeah.
your eye is at the very least, your eye is
Yep.
temporarily out.
Yep.
Same thing with Hellweek's hardware.
Yeah, my
will be out.
my subdermal computer shuts down, so
Yeah. But we'll get
which is
that.
no big. I mean, I'm not really tied to it. It's just how I get and retain information for other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, you're
Right.
using it literally as a computer. It just happens to be inside you, as opposed to, you know, my desktop that's on top of my desk.
Yep.
And your Halo game that just got fucking wiped.
Yeah.
Thought that was funny. Oh, yeah, and then the 2300 equivalent of Halo, my fucking kill streak is gone.
You almost had all the skulls unlocked. Man, that sucks.
Yeah, yeah. All right, my friends, we are going to get out of here. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, especially if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider the like and the subscribe and all the other buttons wherever you're finding this video. We are back next week on the 11th. Somebody tell me I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
That sounds
good.
reasonable.
All right, sounds good. We'll be back next week, where we get to find out who lives and who dies, and how many bullets it takes to get Milligan to drop forever. Sorry, all bullshit aside, I'm gonna feel really bad. I'm gonna feel really bad if the rolls come out that Milligan's the one that eats a bullet and never gets back up. I'm gonna feel really fucking bad. Somebody like, man, I called that shit last week. Fuck. I was just trying to pick on you because, you know, I pick on everybody. Yeah, so tomorrow, possibility of streaming something. I'm gonna make it a surprise like I do always. For this sort of thing that I'm streaming. And then I've got the Greyland Trios League final match of week 4 will be recorded on the evening of the 8th, which means that video will go live the morning of the 9th, and then on the 9th I will be recording the weekly recap, so that video will come out on the morning of the 10th, and then of course, once again, on the 11th, assuming nothing gets in the way, we'll have some more second star in a firefight. Catch you around, my friends. If I keep talking at this point, it's just going to be me rambling, and nobody likes that. Well, maybe some, but not me. So we're going to get out of here. Have a safe one. Have a good one. Do what you got to do for you and yours, etc., etc., etc. See you next time.